What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news. Streaming for you live today, guys. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. We got some brand new Lanterns updates, as not only have we found our Hal Jordan, but we got ourselves a little bit of a short list for the upcoming John Stewart casting. We also got some Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow news for you guys. We're also going to be diving a little bit into the upcoming RoboCop TV series, as that has officially found its showrunner, and a ton more, ladies and gentlemen. So sit back, relax, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, streaming live for you guys over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter today. It is your host, Adam Perez, joined none other by my co-host, Stewart Branscombe. What's up, Stu? How you doing, man?
Hey, I am doing all right. Still trying to wake up, but yeah, doing good.
I feel you, man. Yeah, I was a little bit late starting today's show. I had to go grab us, me and the girlfriend, some coffee to go ahead and get our day started right. Because yeah, just like you, man, I'm still like, I feel like I'm half asleep, even though I've been up since about 9 o'clock or so, getting my little man ready for the day. He's hanging out with his grandma today, so I've got the got some time to do a little bit of a 3-hour show today, man. So I'm looking forward to it. But got my coffee in hand, my iced coffee today. Got my water, so should be a good show, Stuart. Should be a good show, man.
Definitely.
What you been up to?
Topics.
What you been up to this week?
This week, not much. Somewhat of a busy work week, especially this weekend. Yeah, it was just quite hectic. But other than that, yeah, just nothing new.
Do we have any new movies this weekend? This week?
We had the movie Megalopolis, which I have been hearing nothing but bad reviews of. Essentially, like one of my coworkers was saying that it was like if they gave Tommy Wiseau $1 billion to make a movie, and the moment she said that, all the scenes I would walk in on when running food, I was just imagining how much funnier like Adam Driver scenes would be if he was replaced with Tommy Wiseau. Just like how much funnier the lines would be. Time, I don't understand it, Mark. I just control it.
I do like Francis Ford Coppola's movies. Godfather, Apocalypse Now. There's a couple other ones, but I did see a trailer. I don't know if it was like the last trailer for this or if it was a TV spot for Megalopolis. But what they did, which I thought was fascinating, was people have called Francis Ford Coppola like a director past their ahead of their time sort of thing. And what they did with the ad, Stuart, was for all the big movies that Coppola has made, they put out the first initial review comments for each of the movies way back when, like Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and how like everybody just completely crapped all over these particular movies. And in a sense to imply that like clearly his movie, like the movies for Coppola age extremely well, or apparently they will find sort of their following. And so I just thought it was interesting that they would put those comments sort of ahead of the trailer for Megalopolis, in the sense of like they maybe knew that this was coming. Like this is a pattern for Coppola movies, that people crap all over the work, but then if you actually watch it, and eventually over time it will certainly find its footing, and it's fans sort of thing. So I don't know. I just found that pretty interesting, to the point to where it makes me almost want to see the movie just for myself instead of relying on what other people have to say.
Yeah, for me, the only reason I'm not seeing it is because I was just on the fence about it. So if I'm hearing more negative stuff, I'm just going to wait for it to come out on streaming services. But that is a really funny point. I do wonder if, kind of like the critics back then, if like, minds will be changed over time, and like the voices of the people that actually did enjoy the movie start to get louder and louder as more people going to go see it. Yeah, I'm curious now. I do have to check this movie out at some point.
Yeah, I had heard of it, but I hadn't I hadn't seen any of the trailers for it until this past week. I was like, Megalopolis, why does that sound familiar to me? And I checked it out, and it looks pretty trippy, to be quite honest with you. It looks pretty interesting. So I don't know. I kind of dig the concept. We'll see how well or not well it comes together, though. But yeah, I did hear that Megalopolis certainly came out this week. There's a couple other movies I got to see first too. Like I definitely got to see Transformers 1. I've been hearing a ton of great things about that movie. Speak No Evil with James
Oh
McAvoy.
yeah.
I really want to see that too. Hopefully, I can catch those before they leave. They leave theaters. But if you guys have seen any of these films that we're talking about that are currently in movie theaters, go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. What have you guys certainly watched this?
Ooh, also The Substance. It is a body horror film that,
Mm,
like, when you look at the trailers for it, doesn't look like it's a body horror film. But I can tell you from the guests that we've been serving, like, people will definitely order a lot at the beginning. But then as the movie's going, no one orders any food at all for this movie because it's like
yeah.
there's so much like gross out kind of like shots in this film. And I haven't seen it, but I walked in on the very last shot without context, and I was immediately like, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen."
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure nobody probably ate their food after in the middle of watching that movie. Like I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard of it. Was it called The Substance?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Basically, it's like kind of an actress who's getting a bit older, and so therefore you get the douchebag CEOs being like, "We need
Mm.
a young person to represent us." So she starts taking this drug that creates like a duplicate of herself who's like a lot younger. And then that's kind of the gist of what I know from the plot.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's something worth checking out for sure. But you know what, guys? We got a couple of great topics for you guys today. We got 6 incredible topics. We got some honorable mentions. For those of you who are not familiar with the show, we go through honorable mentions, some topics we definitely felt you deserved to know, but didn't quite make our top 6. Then we're going to get into our main topics, and then we'll be ending the show off with your live viewer questions. So if you do want to submit a live viewer question for us to tackle at the end of the show, go over to our YouTube page, click on the community tab, and there is a live viewer question post for you guys. Go ahead and certainly check that out. And wherever you're watching us from, man, we definitely appreciate everybody watching us live today. Hit that like button. Feel free to retweet, share these videos, let everybody know that we are currently live. And we do have our super chats open if you want to go ahead and monetarily help out the show today. But Stuart, are you ready to go ahead and kick off this show with me with our first segment?
Always.
Let's do it. We're going to our honorable mentions for the day. Any topics, Stuart, that you had that you wanted to bring up?
So I got one, but it's a pretty big spoiler for WandaVision. Are you
WandaVision?
or sorry, Agatha, my bad.
Oh,
For
Agatha.
Agatha.
Okay. Yeah, I'm personally all caught up for Agatha all along. For those of you who haven't been who have been following us, we do have the first 3 episode reviews currently up on the channel. I am also dropping the Rings of Power episode number 7 review right after this show. It's scheduled to go ahead and drop at 3 o'clock for you guys. So we should be all caught up with reviews for the week. But yes, I personally am. But if you guys have not caught up to episode 3 of Agatha, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. What you got for us?
Actually, this is a spoiler for the series because pop
Oh,
figures got leaked, and so that's why I was asking. So some
oh,
pop figures got leaked,
okay.
and they spoil some things about some characters.
Oh
So
no.
so I will just say this without giving away specifics, just because I don't want to like ruin the show for anyone who isn't watching it. It definitely tells you who Teenager is actually supposed to be, a character from the comic books, and one we may or may not have seen in the MCU already. And Aubrey Plaza's character. Ooh, okay. So I had one theory from the first episode because when it came to her name on the list, it was literally just a black heart, which made me think, oh, Blackheart, like Lucifer's son or Mephisto's son. Okay, so gender bent Blackheart. That's cool. Nope. Yeah, the pop figure for her came out. That is not the character she actually is. It is one that it's another one that kind of fits that like kind of realm of horror, but nope, it's not Blackheart. It is someone else. And someone who this might be give it away, someone who may or may not have a relationship with Deadpool in the comic books. So it is so it's kind of interesting. It's too bad that these got leaked for anyone who didn't want that to get spoiled, but for those who are curious, those who maybe just want to know what the outcome is of the show, whether or not that's going to determine whether or not you watch it, you can look that up. Just look up Agatha Pop Figures leak and you'll probably find it.
I did see the pop figure leak for Aubrey Plaza's character. I'm hoping that that's not her though. Personally, that's just me. I'm hoping that it is just a leak and it's a red herring that's out there. I have my own um speculation and theories as to who Aubrey Plaza is playing. There's a part of me that really wants her to be Morgan Le Fay, but I'm under the impression that that may not be the case. But based off of the pop leak, it it would make all the sense in the world to me if that ends up being her. But I guess I just had another expectations for who I personally would have liked for her to have been. As far as who Teen is, that one I have not seen outside of just regular speculation and rumors. But I have not seen the leak for the pop figure for Teen. But I will say I am getting more and more um fascinated as to who the character is, especially after watching episode number 3. They definitely hint at something else that I think might be sort of a red herring to kind of take us off the trail as to who Teen
Mhm.
is, but it definitely makes you ask a lot more questions about who Teen truly is. But I dig it. I dig it after episode 3. So we'll see. We'll see what we wind up getting.
Yeah, the moment they were like, Agatha wouldn't even notice her own son if he came knocking on her door. I'm like, that's a red herring. There's
Yeah,
no way
it felt
that would make it way too obvious.
it definitely it definitely felt a little bit too on the nose, but they definitely built it up, I think, in episode 3 for you to believe that might be the case, especially with the scene with the Darkhold at the end, also just to kind of like give some truth to the idea of what Agatha did, but whether or not that's Teen, who certainly knows. But I love what they're doing so far with the misdirection for this show.
Hmm.
A couple other honorable mentions for you guys. We do need to say our farewells to a passing in Hollywood this week. You guys probably all know Maggie Smith. She's a 2-time Oscar winner, most notably known for her time in things like Harry Potter, Downtown Abbey. She unfortunately passed away the other day at the age of 89, which is kind of crazy to be quite frank with you. But yeah, Entertainment Weekly did a little bit of a article in regards to it. Says it was great with great sadness we had to announce the death of Dame Maggie Smith. She passed away peacefully in the hospital earlier this morning on Friday. Said both of her sons. An intensely private person, she was with friends and family at the end. She leaves 2 sons and 5 loving grandchildren who are devastated by the loss of their extraordinary mother and grandmother. Yeah, man, she had a pretty incredible career, to certainly say the least, Stewart. While a lot of people probably recently know her for her time in Downtown Abbey and Harry Potter, considering how old I was back in the 80s and in the 90s, I definitely grew up on her from things like Hook, and especially like Sister Act 1 and 2 were like some of my childhood favorites with Maggie Smith in them. And she's been all over the place. I'm sure you guys have seen her in plenty of stuff. Her IMDb is ridiculously long, but she was always fantastic in everything that she wound up bringing, regardless of what the movie was, how good, how bad the movie was. Maggie Smith was always a bright spot, Stewart, and she definitely will be missed, man. Great career and great life that she had.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, the 2 main ones would be Harry Potter and Hook. Loved like all those movies as a kid.
Yeah, so rest in peace, Maggie Smith, and prayers to her friends and family for sure. I believe this was already brought up in the chat by somebody, Marcelino. Um, he does mention the cancellation of Chucky. We do have a cancellation from Chucky, unfortunately. Variety.com this week reported that Chucky is canceled after 3 seasons at Sci-Fi and the USA Network. Um, it aired both on USA and Sci-Fi. Season 3 aired in 2 parts. According to sources, there had been discussions of bringing the show back for an abbreviated final season or even a wrap-up film, but ultimately to no avail. They said, "I am heartbroken over the news that Chucky won't be coming back for a fourth season, but I'm so grateful for the killer 3 years we did have." So yeah, a little bit of a bummer. I don't know how season 3 ended. It sounds like they wanted a little bit of abbreviated final season to maybe wrap up some storylines. So I am kind of curious as to, like, did season 3 leave people on a cliffhanger, or is it okay? Oh yeah, he says the cliffhanger at the end has to be addressed given how the beloved show and characters have become. But yeah, unfortunately, Marcelino, it doesn't seem as though that will be the case. Looks like they have in fact passed on that. So no abbreviated final season to wrap up the story. That's always unfortunate, don't you think, Stu?
Yeah, hopefully because it's Chucky and they used and there was like a period of time where they did like a crap ton of like straight to DVD movies with him. Hopefully you can get something like that that may
Mm.
technically be standalone and not directly connected, but could at the very least address what happened after the events of it. Yeah, I could see them going in that direction.
Yeah, I can see them going to that one too. Another quick mention here, Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk, he is set to go ahead and play Dr. Phosphorus in the upcoming Creature Commandos animated series from James Gunn. But Deadline.com this week is also reporting that that's not his only role in the DCU. Apparently, Alan Tudyk is playing a secret role in James Gunn's Superman as well. They're not giving any information. It says even though Superman may be wrapped, but we're hearing that Alan Tudyk is also part of the mass ensemble pick in an undisclosed role. There's suggestion that it's not going to be Dr. Phosphorus that he's playing, that it could in fact be somebody else. Um, so yeah, I am kind of curious as to who he could potentially be playing in here.
Oh, I know who it's going to be.
Who
He's
you
going to
got?
be playing Van Wayne, and it's going to turn out that James Gunn's whole DC universe is going to be actually taking place within the Powerless universe.
Oh no, that would be pretty trippy if he did come back as that character, though. Like, no, I don't even remember that show airing. To be quite frank with you, I didn't even know it aired, Stuart. But yeah, they did have like a first season, didn't they?
Yeah, they had one season and it got canceled, I think, before it even got finished. But the one episode I did watch, I didn't mind. I tried to get through the first episode, I couldn't, but I watched the episode where Adam West had a cameo because it was right when he passed away, and there were some jokes that I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty clever. I think my favorite was how Alan Tudyk was like trying to give himself super speed by recreating the accident that created the Flash. So it's like dumping himself in chemicals and trying to electrocute himself, and all the people working under him are messing with him, so they're all moving in slow motion around him and talking super slow, so he actually thinks he has super speed.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they definitely went above and beyond. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um, we do have ourselves a Hellboy update for you guys. Apparently, Hellboy the Crooked Man is not getting a US release theatrical date. It has in fact released in the UK this past week. Um, but according to comicbook.com, it says, but now we know when American audiences will get a chance to see the film. As of this week, video on demand platforms are showing Hellboy the Crooked Man available for pre-order with a Tuesday, October 8th release. No domestic theatrical release for the film. So again, it will be getting a UK release date in theaters, which I believe is this week. Yeah, the 27th, I believe, is when it released. So this past Friday, it's airing in the UK, but it will not be getting a theatrical release here in the US. Instead, it will be going to video on demand beginning October 8th. Interesting choice, Stuart. Why do you think they went this route? I mean, this movie has a ridiculously small budget. I am curious as to the move as to not making Hellboy a theatrical release. How do you read into that?
I think it's a really bad business decision. I think there's I know you have Joker 2 coming out, but besides that, there's not really any huge movies out there. So I feel like this is kind of a good time to release it in theaters. Just experiment, see how it does. And it's not like it's going to be the biggest loss if it doesn't make like a lot of money because you didn't spend
Mhm.
that much money to make this movie. I think it just would have been like a good idea to at least like kind of dip your toe in the water and see, hey, can low budget comic book movies actually work? And that would have been a good way to get an answer. And I mean, I guess you technically still can get an answer from that if it's airing in theaters in the UK. But I think that but doing that in the US would have also been a wiser move than sending it straight to video on demand. So as for why they decided not to, I can't tell you. I have no idea. I just know that like if it were me personally, yes, I would definitely release it in theaters, even if it wasn't like a long release, even if it's just like a semi-limited release. Just to see if, hey, we only spent this much money on it. Let's see if we can actually make that back in the box office.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by this, to be quite honest with you. I gotta maybe I should look up what the budget is. Can you Google search that for me real quick? What the budget for Hellboy the Crooked Man is? Because I gotta assume even if you were to release this in like limited theaters, limited show times or something like that, I gotta think some people would come out and see it. I mean, granted, they haven't had the biggest sort of greatest marketing push to let everybody be aware of it, but I mean, maybe they felt the cost of distributing it to theaters was more than they probably would have made back from it. But I still think you put it out there, test the waters in a limited screening, limited theaters. And if it's not gaining the traction that you want, then maybe put it out on video on demand, but at least put it out there for the public to be able to see if, word of mouth starts getting around. And if more people start appreciating what you've done, then maybe have a bigger release window for it. Some of the people that I have seen maybe two or three comments of people that claim that they've seen it already, and have said that they've enjoyed it, that it's not what they expected it to be, but based off of what they got for what the movie itself is going for, they've been fans of it. So I do think that this should have been released theatrically to at least try and make some money. um Maybe they think the video on demand, people paying $20 to watch the movie, maybe they feel like they can make their money back quicker that way. But I still think with the UK release, a limited release here in the US would have benefited it a little bit more. But I don't know. We'll see what this movie turns out to be. If anything, Stuart, I think this will probably cause more people to want to pirate this movie.
Yeah, and it'll make it easier for them to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely, because it would have already been released in theaters somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the smartest move in the world, especially if you're looking to hopefully build off of a sequel and things like that. Like, is this just going to be an international film kind of going forward when it comes to Hellboy? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Interesting decision.
Yeah. I will be right back. Give me like 1 minute, and yeah, sorry, I gotta go
Yeah, no
take care of
problem.
something real quick.
No problem. Um, so I'll wait for Stewart to certainly come back. So yeah, we'll get that out of the way. We did get ourselves some brand new character posters for The Last of Us season 2 as well. I don't know if did this have a release date? No, it doesn't look like it had a release date on the posters. But we get to see the two characters here from The Last of Us season 2 is set to go ahead and drop. We did get ourselves brand new teaser trailer for The Last of Us as well. Let me see if I can pull that up. Do I have that? Oh,
Uh,
are you back, Stuart?
I am indeed. Also, I saw you were showing the Last of Us posters.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna go ahead and pull up the trailer real quick here.
I'm gonna say this without spoiling anything. If you have played the game, this poster has a whole different meaning. Is all I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay, okay.
I am really excited as someone who has played The Last of Us 2. I am really excited to watch this with people who have not played The Last of Us 2 and do not know what to expect from season 2. All I could say, man, is get your tissues, man. Season 2 is going to be an emotional roller coaster.
It's starting to feel that way. Let's go ahead and play this teaser trailer real quick. Comes in under just 2 minutes.
Yes.
Oh, you want to start or what? Let's try something different. You can't heal something unless you're brave enough to say it out
loud. Man, this girl is everywhere.
Say the thing you're afraid to say. Say it out loud, no matter what it is, no matter how bad.
Creepy.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
Hmm. Damn. Creepy. Oh, he's in this season?
Playing the same character he played in the video game.
Oh, that's cool. Whoa. Is she pregnant? She looked like she was giving childbirth or something like that. Well, maybe I'm tripping.
I don't think so, because that definitely didn't happen in the game. But yeah, something's going on.
Yeah, something's going on with her screaming at the end, and Joel with the single tear. I'm curious as to like what they're referring to. Something clearly is bothering Joel in here. Intense, very intense trailer. I love it. I'm ready for this series to come back. I am one of those people that have never played the video game, so this is really my introduction into the world of The Last of Us. I mean, I have been spoiled in the sense of Joel in the second game. So there is that aspect that I'm expecting in this season, but I am kind of curious as to just how all that fits into this greater storyline. But it looks intense, man. I'm here for it for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, it just like the first season, it looks like it captures everything that, from the video game that it needs to, but changes just enough to make it like work for a television show. Because, if you were to make a direct adaptation, I don't think it would work as well as people like to pretend that they do. But like, I think Last of Us just finds that perfect balance of changing just enough to make it suitable for television, but keeping really the spirit of the video game,
No, I get you. We do have another movie trailer that dropped this week. Also, another teaser trailer, one that I've been eagerly anticipating, and that is Ballerina from the world of John Wick. We got our first look at the upcoming spin-off film starring Ana de Armas, set in the world of John Wick. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to check that one out, let's go ahead and dive into that one as well. I was kind of hoping they would have dropped a teaser poster for this one too, but we didn't get a poster. We just got the trailer. But let's go ahead and start this official trailer for Ballerina.
Do you like to dance? I know a school where they teach dances. I could take you there if you'd like.
I assume she lost her parents. Is she like an orphan now?
I think that's what they say that they do. Is they take in orphans.
Okay.
To stop the assassin, you must become the assassin. You will always be weaker. You will always be smaller. You want to win? Improvise. Adapt.
Ooh.
Cheat.
Oh God, dude, nut shots, jeez, girl.
Welcome to the Continental.
Hey,
Yeah, this shocked me because
damn, she looks good holding a gun.
See you again.
Great choice of music.
Just walked into.
Woo. Hey,
They killed my father.
ooh, ooh. Oh my God.
This isn't done until they're dead.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a very humbling thing.
What? That's crazy,
out a straight up beam struggle from Dragon Ball.
right?
The one they call the Baba Yaga. How do I start doing what you do?
Looks like you already have.
That looks so good, man.
Yeah, I was
That
so
looks
shocked to
good.
see Lance Reddick in this movie. Every time I think, okay, this must be the last film that he's in, I suddenly will like see another movie that's come out the next year. I'm like, how many movies did he film before he passed?
I know that's pretty crazy, huh?
Mhm.
Man, that trailer looks so good. Anna de Armas with a gun just looks so badass, to be quite frank with you. There are a couple of the shots in here when it's the action pieces that I do wonder if that's the return of Chad Stahelski coming through with some of the reshoots for some action sequences. I wonder if they added some of the stuff that was filmed into this trailer, because the action looks just on point. I'm a big fan of the shot where she puts the grenade in Homeboy's mouth and then closes the door behind him, and then just a quick edit of the explosion. Like I'm amazed as to how they pulled that shot off. And then, like you said, the Dragon Ball beam struggle with the fire hose and the blowtorch. I mean, my God, dude, like the flamethrower and the water hose. That was such a cool scene. I've never seen that before. But I think performance wise, Anna de Armas is going to be incredible in here. If this is true to the lore of John Wick, bringing in Chad Stahelski to help out with reshoots and stuff, I think this is really going to come together well for an incredible movie. And I love the title too, From the World of John Wick, to really establish the idea that this is part of the John Wick franchise, the continuity and the lore. And I think that alone will help bring people out to the theaters, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we got a Nobody 2 coming out. So I wonder if we'll finally get that crossover, John Wick versus Mr. Nobody. The Bob Odenkirk movie.
I forgot. That's right. There is an Mr. Nobody coming out, a Mr. Nobody 2 coming out. We also
it's never been established in the movie, but like for some reason fans really like to pretend that movie takes place in the world of John Wick.
Oh, really? Yeah, I hadn't heard that before, but that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got one more trailer that wind up dropping. This comes to us from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. We have been talking a while about the idea that they have a movie coming out. There was a huge bidding war to see who was going to pick up this film. I believe Warner Brothers won it. I could be wrong though. But the film is titled Sinners, and it's got Michael B. Jordan's name attached to it, baby, dropping March 7th. We knew that this movie was coming, but we finally got ourselves a brand new, not only poster, but our very first look at this. Have you seen this, Stewart? I think you're muted.
Sorry, I meant to say I am not. No, I have not seen this yet. No.
So let's take a look at this one. This is Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler teaming up once again for their brand new film, Sinners. I love the period piece setting already.
I've been all over this world. I seen men die in ways I ain't even know was possible. Hey, brother. Be careful. I will.
We got twins here. He's playing both roles?
With all the things that I've seen. I ain't ever seen no demons. No ghosts.
Hey, Haley Steinfeld.
No magic. Till now. To get back inside.
That's not creepy at all.
Let me in, man. Some weird shit going on out here. You keep dancing with the devil. One day he's gonna follow you home.
Damn, that looks good. I couldn't even tell what it's about, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what it was about. I mean, it definitely looks like it's a mixture of like I was definitely under the impression that it was going to be vampire related, but it does feel like it's more, I don't want to say more supernatural natural related, but I mean, it does seem to be elements of maybe like some voodoo or some black magic kind of stuff going on. Maybe there are elements of vampires in here too. I really have no idea, but it looks pretty interesting to me in the sense of just like a thriller wise. I am curious as to Michael B. Jordan playing two significant roles. Clearly him and his brother part ways in this trailer. I do wonder if his brother goes on to turn into something else or become a victim of something else, and maybe like they're playing polar opposites. Like I wonder if the brother comes back home all vampired out or demonic and stuff and bringing his flock of people with him back to this town where his brother is. I don't know. I have no idea what this is going to turn out to be, but I'm loving the cast that I'm seeing so far.
If that's the case, then it makes sense that they'd be, hiding out in a church where you'd have crosses and holy water to, combat the vampires.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be some demonic shit kind of going on in here. So we'll see what this movie turns out to be. But a lot of people have been were bidding for this movie. Warner Brothers picked it up, and now March 7th, I believe it said, March 6th. Will be coming to theaters, guys. So look out for Sinners for sure. But that will do it for all of our honorable mentions today. Shout out to some people in our live chat today. Who we got? We got Enrique Perez here. Hey, Adam, just saw the extended trailer for Wizards of Waverly Place. It will premiere on Disney Channel October 28th and 29th, and then the next day on Disney Plus. Thanks for that heads up. Enrique also says, I saw a new trailer of Pixar's upcoming original series Dream Productions from the world of Inside Out in December and Win or Lose. Yeah, they released like a dual trailer for both of those. Speaking of Pixar, I think this was Pixar. Maybe it's DreamWorks. My little boy started watching this movie, The Good Dinosaur. Is that Pixar or is that DreamWorks? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's Pixar.
That's Pixar. Yeah, he's really big into dinosaurs right now, so he's eating it all
awesome. Up. You should show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers then.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much he would pick up at the age of 2.5 right now. He's going to be 3 here soon, so maybe I'll wait like another year or two before I bring him into the Power Ranger world. Blossom in the house today. We got Ram Jam certainly here with us today. Who else we got? Marcelino is here with us today. Ram Jam also says there's a Kickstarter for the sequel documentary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles called Evolution, Mutation, and Reboot. Okay, interesting. Blossom, she says, I'm gonna miss Maggie. She was wonderful as Professor McGonagall. Yeah, she definitely was. Sam, what's up, Sam? Appreciate you coming through. Says, I think everyone knows he might play Brainiac. Oh, talking about Alan Tudyk. He believes he might play Brainiac in the movie. That'll be interesting. Doing a voiceover for that. Who knows?
Speaking of Brainiac, part of me is like, I'm not getting my hopes too high up for this, but Tom Cavanaugh, who played, of course, the Reverse Flash on the Flash series, he's going to be in Superman and Lois season 4, and they've already confirmed that he is not playing, either Harrison Wells or the Reverse Flash. That he's going to be playing a completely new character from the Superman comic books.
Oh wow.
And Todd Helbing has been saying that this is a character it feels like he was born to play. And I'm wondering, one character that comes to mind that I think he could do a good job at is Brainiac, maybe?
Pretty dope. That would be pretty dope. Speaking of Tom Cavanaugh, Dallas Fan Expo later this year, October 19th and the 20th, is a 2-day convention out here that I'm going to be in attendance on. They've got a whole Arrowverse crew out here, Stewart. They've got the cast of Superman and Lois. So I'm talking Tyler and Elizabeth. They're going to be out here. Also, the gentleman playing Lex Luthor, Michael Cudlitz, is going to be out here. They also got Stephen Amell from Arrow's going to be out here, and they got a huge Flash cast: Grant Gustin, Candace Patton, Daniel Panabaker, Carlos Valdez, John Wesley Shipp, and Tom Cavanaugh from the Flash. So those are the only celebrities that I'm seeing listed. So this is very much an Arrowverse heavy convention this year. So I'm really looking forward to this. I can't lie.
Oh man, when is this?
October 19th through the 20th. So I will be in attendance there. I don't know if I'm going to ask any questions, but if you guys have any questions you want me to ask the cast of The Flash or Stephen Amell, or even the cast of Superman and Lois, go ahead and let me know in the comment section box. Maybe I'll ask a question while I'm in line or something like that.
You got to use your Jedi mind tricks to trick Tom Cavanaugh into telling you who he's going to play in Superman and Lois season 4. And then, I'm kidding, do not actually say this, but and then when you see Tyler Hoechlin, you got to let him know how grateful you are that his baseball career didn't take off.
Oh no!
I'm kidding. Don't actually say it. I really hope to God he doesn't watch this podcast. I do not mean that.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, guys, but that will do it for all of our honorable mentions. Stewart, I think it's time for us to get into our main topics, man. Are you ready?
Always.
We're gonna go in reverse today, and instead of starting off with our Marvel or DC news, we are gonna talk heavy into regards to some television and movie news for you guys today. As you saw at the top of our thumbnail, the main article this week being RoboCop with a live action TV series. Now, growing up as a kid, I personally was a huge RoboCop fan. I remember watching the very first one on VHS. The second one was a little trippier, to be quite frank with you, in regards to, like, I think they created like a brand new drug, if I'm not mistaken, Stewart, also in like RoboCop 2. But I was always a big fan of Murphy and RoboCop in general from the first 2 films. We even wind up getting ourselves a recent reboot, if I'm not mistaken, several years back that didn't quite take off. So ever since then, though, the RoboCop franchise has been relatively quiet, to certainly say the least. But I will say within the past year or so, we have been getting some word of RoboCop maybe making some sort of return, but this time in the form of a television series. Not only are we getting a television series, but it definitely seems as though it is in fact moving forward, Stewart, as they have officially picked up their showrunner for the series as well. So let's go ahead and bring this up here. This one actually comes to us from Variety.com. RoboCop TV series at Amazon is set with Peter Ocko as the showrunner, and we also have James Wan set to go ahead and produce as well. It says the RoboCop television series in development at Amazon is starting to take shape. Variety has learned that Peter Ocko has boarded the project to serve as writer, executive producer, and showrunner. In addition, James Wan is set to executive produce under his Atomic Monster banner. The official log line for the series states, a giant tech conglomerate collaborates with the local police department to introduce a technologically advanced enforcer to combat rising crime, a police officer who's part man, part machine. Along with Oko and Juan, Michael Clear and Robert Hackett will also executive produce. The RoboCop series has been in early development stages since Amazon acquired MGM, with Amazon looking to capitalize on their, come on, man, on their access to MGM's deep IP library for both film and television projects. Amazon is also currently prepping a Legally Blonde prequel series, and then also a Poltergeist project.
How do you do a prequel to Legally Blonde? Like, there's just so many reasons that makes no sense to me. It's like, you know, you're the whole point of her Legally Blonde was like her character arc, and it's like if you do a prequel to that, you take away the arc factor of it. It's just you have a generic, you know. I don't know. Maybe I know this isn't about Legally Blonde, but I'm still just like kind of blown away by how much that decision just makes no sense to me.
The article also says the RoboCop franchise kicked off in 1987 with the first RoboCop film starring Peter Weller. He did return for the sequel in 1990, and then Robert Burke took over the role for RoboCop 3 in 1993. I'm trying to remember if I have had to have seen RoboCop 3, but it's just not one that sticks with me, unfortunately.
I still have not seen either RoboCop 2 or 3.
Yeah, I would definitely say check out RoboCop 2, if anything. There have also been multiple RoboCop TV shows to date, including 2 animated and 2 live action shows, as well as video games and comic books. I'm trying to remember the previous RoboCop television series.
There was one in 1994 that was like meant to be kind of a direct sequel. I don't remember a second live action show though, but I do remember the cartoon, or I don't remember like I was there, but I do remember, you know, people talking about the cartoon. Because, you know, it was just during that time where it was just very common for R-rated franchises to get a cartoon adaptation. Like you had one for RoboCop, you had one for Rambo, you know, a freaking cartoon series about Rambo. You had one for the Toxic Avengers.
I think maybe I do remember this RoboCop series. Yeah, 1994. Looking at it again, it looks like it might have only had 1 season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it lasted very long. But you know, if anything, Stewart, I would be kind of curious. It does say Peter Ocko has written a wide variety of shows in his career, including Dinosaurs, Dead Like Me, Pushing Daisies, Black Sails, The Office, Lodge 49, and the most recent AMC series Moonhaven. Look, I am a fan of this franchise. I personally do like RoboCop as a character. You know, I guess the question that I would certainly have when it comes to this would just be, you know, is this television series just gonna be a complete retelling? Like, is this gonna be an origin story series? Like, are we gonna see Alex Murphy as a police officer, his death, what they do to his body in regards to making him into sort of this RoboCop, or are we going to kind of come into this series where RoboCop is kind of already established? Like, is this a build up off of the first 2 or 3 RoboCop movies, or is this going to be like a complete new remake in the sense of not even it being Alex Murphy, but a completely just original character and them using the concept of what RoboCop is? You know, Variety just gives us pretty much the synopsis to date. It doesn't really name Alex Murphy so much as it refers to the idea of a conglomerate sort of creating like a RoboCop in a sense. So it does leave a lot on the bones to figure out which direction they're going to go with this, but I'm coming to think of the 1994 RoboCop series. There is a part of me that feels like I watched it back then, but I do think television wise, I do think RoboCop can certainly benefit from it, maybe even more so than the movie. We did get a recent film, I believe, with Joel Kinnaman as RoboCop. I can't remember what year that one came out.
2014, I believe.
2014, so about 10 years ago. How did you like that movie, Stuart? I don't think I minded it. Did you see that one or no?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Definitely nowhere near as like memorable as the first movie, but it didn't need to be. It was just, it was just kind of a fun remake, and definitely went for, a wider audience with a PG-13 rating instead of the, really gritty R rating that the original had.
Yeah, I think I recall enjoying the film. I don't think I was blown away by it, but for what they were going for in the sense of a remake, I definitely enjoyed it, and I love the brand new costume that they wind up creating for him
Yeah.
as well. So I would be interested to see what route they go. Do they stick with the Joel Kinnaman costume? Do they recreate the costume yet again? Do we go back to classic RoboCop design? I do think that especially if Amazon Prime or Amazon has access to MGM properties, I think if there is any MGM property to mine, this is definitely the one for them to do it in. But I would like to see how they do a RoboCop series, especially in a more modern society, based off of how people sort of view police departments currently. Like I do wonder if there is some level of societal message that they can kind of implement in a current age RoboCop series as well. So, there's a part of me, Stuart, that would like to see them tackle brand new characters just with the concept of RoboCop and not doing the same old that they've done with Alex Murphy. I think maybe putting somebody else under the suit, having a new origin story. What did that character lose? How did that character lose? Maybe some brand new villains or gangs. I wouldn't mind seeing that concept of RoboCop just expanded on with brand new characters in here. But what about you, Stuart? When you hear this idea that they have found themselves a showrunner, clearly it feels as though that this is moving in a trajectory for Amazon Prime that actually greenlight this series and certainly make it happen. What's your anticipation level for this, and how would you like to see them tackle it?
I think I'm definitely more hyped for this than I was the 2014 RoboCop movie. I think, yeah, if there was any way to reboot RoboCop, it would be through a television series. I think, especially with it being Amazon, as a company, not the best, but as a streaming service, I do like how they seem to give a lot of freedom to their writers. So I think it'll like lead to some pretty good like I think a RoboCop series on Amazon would definitely be the type of show where you would see like a lot of social commentary. So you would see, while yeah, RoboCop would be the hero, you would also probably see him fighting not only crime but also police corruption as well. Which, I mean, obviously that is a crime, but you know what I mean. How earlier cop films tend to paint it as cops good guys, robbers bad guys, and but like as like kind of movies go forward, they get more realistic, and they tend to have like a more less black and white view of it, more of a hey, this corruption exists, for both people and for cops. So it's like something that I could see RoboCop tackling in a TV series in a modern adaptation. And yeah, if it's on Amazon, I could see Amazon being the kind of company that would let them do that. So I'm down for a RoboCop series always, and I'd be very curious to see how they would tackle certain topics like that. And yeah, also, if they'd be able to, keep the serious you know, sorry, my mind is just blanking on what to say because I am excited for this, but I don't know. I guess I just I hope they can both they can do what they've done really well before in Peacemaker. They can get me emotional. They can get me to really care about these characters, but then they can also have some fun as well. So yeah.
Um, I will say, Marcelo goes on to say, he says when they did make a RoboCop TV show, it got mixed reaction because of them changing the tone from R to PG-13. They introduced a spunky 12-year-old character who was smart enough to repair RoboCop. That kind of reminds me a little bit of like Iron Man 3, where they had the kid that was able to help repair Iron Man's suit and stuff,
Yeah.
But I think, I don't mind the idea of a spunky 12-year-old kid. I mean, there are geniuses out there. There are people that are capable of, being extremely smart and repairing these things. So I didn't really mind that so much, but I can see the idea of going from rated R to PG-13 maybe rubbing some people the wrong way. But I will say, now that we are on a streaming service, I can see them maybe sticking true a little bit to some of the rawness that was RoboCop, because RoboCop definitely didn't pull any punches, to certainly say the least. It definitely had its
Oh no.
yeah, it definitely had its graphic moments in its rated R setting. Maybe this could be TVMA. Maybe this has pushed a little bit more of the boundaries of a TV 14 sort of young adult rating. That I certainly don't know. But you do bring up something interesting, Stuart. With it being Amazon, I have been impressed with some of the IP choices that Amazon has decided to go ahead and create in regards to television. And not only do I agree with you in the sense that they do give their creators sort of like that a freedom to go ahead and create. I do think, just quality wise, Amazon really does put their best foot forward when it comes to paying attention to detail of really making really getting the best out of their IP that they've decided to mine. So if it's an Amazon series, there's a part of me that is really kind of excited to see what they do to this, because I do think that they'll certainly stay true to the character while also growing the franchise. Because I would agree with you too, in the sense that the idea of it being announced as a TV series, to me, is more exciting than the idea of it being a movie as of right now. So hopefully the showrunner certainly knows what he's doing and can definitely bring this series to life. But we'll wait and see how this develops.
But yeah, I will say this. While I do hope that this gets a TVMA rating, I don't think I'll be mad if it gets a TV-14 rating, because you can still tell dark storylines with a TV-14 rating. You just can't be as graphic about it. But I think it can still be done. But I don't think it will, because like you were bringing up, with it being on a streaming service, they'll have a lot more freedom in terms of what they're allowed to show. Whereas like back then, especially in the 80s, when it came to, or in this case, sorry, the 90s, when it came to cable network TV shows, it was very hard. Like the only way you could really get a TVMA show out there is either like super late time where no one's going to be watching it. And usually those kind of shows tend to have a really, really small budget, or HBO. And in which case it is, you got to really have a good pitch for HBO if you're going to, especially back then, if you were going to sell something to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shout out to Toby. What's up, Toby? Good to certainly see you today. Sam says, I didn't like the remake version. I'm assuming he meant 2014. I preferred the original two films, but RoboCop 3 had lost it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've watched RoboCop 3. I got to imagine that I certainly have. Is that the one with him? Did he get like a rocket pack or some shit like that? Or
He
some
definitely
wings
has
or
it.
something like
That is the only thing I know about RoboCop 3, is that he gets a jetpack or something like
or
that.
something like that. I can't remember, man. But yeah, I definitely fell off after
Yeah.
RoboCop 2 for sure. But I do remember the animated series. I do remember watching the animated series as a kid. He says, I hope the TV series will be better than the remake. I hope so
I'm
too.
sure
Sam.
it will be.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
But yeah, because the first one is just such a classic. You can't top that.
Marcelo says, what's the problem? What problem do you have with Amazon as a company? Are they responsible for any controversies?
I'm assuming that was sarcastic.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He might be serious, too. I don't know. But yeah, I've heard of being terribly underpaid, unsafe work environments. I hear they take out, like, are terrible when it comes to like competition between other companies and stuff, like just undercutting people and whatnot. Yeah, I hear a bunch of horror stories all the time about Amazon.
Yeah.
Let's see here. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. RoboCop television series moving forward at Amazon, they have officially found a showrunner for this series. But we'll definitely keep you guys posted on development of the RoboCop television series. And with that,
it was apparently serious. So yeah, all the reasons Adam just listed, basically, when you look up the working conditions for Amazon warehouse employees, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, they've been trying to unionize for a while now, but Amazon keeps undercutting them, if I'm not mistaken, too. At least I don't think Amazon has a union yet. Maybe certain areas of the country might have a union for Amazon workers, but I really don't know right now. But yeah, I hear horror stories all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on the potential of a RoboCop television series in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, as we're going to be revisiting the monster universe. As not only did we get a successful rendition of The Invisible Man several years ago, but ever since then, I think there's been a hunger to go ahead and tackle some of these classic horror characters and bring them to life. They had, I believe, Universal had plans originally to go ahead and do a big monster universe, but that unfortunately fell through when a film like The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, didn't really take off as well as they were certainly hoping for. I do believe the revisiting, though, of these classic characters is not necessarily in the Universal sort of monster verse, but they are still tackling these concepts. And after The Invisible Man, we were kind of wondering, not only are we going to get ourselves a sequel, but what's the next character that they're certainly going to be trying to tackle? And that, in fact, seems to be Wolfman. Now, a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, we did get ourselves an actual teaser trailer for the film, but it seems as though they are now coming out and talking a little bit more about this series or this upcoming film and what we can expect. We did get ourselves a teaser poster as well for Wolfman. The film is set to go ahead and drop January 17th. Anytime you tell me a film drops in January, though, I am very suspect as to the quality of this film. Usually January is where films certainly go to die, but maybe this is a prime opportunity for Wolfman to definitely separate itself from the other films that are going to be dropping this upcoming January of 2025. So much so that we have the director, I believe, that's actually coming out and talking about this film in the sense of what he is aiming for in regards to bringing this particular version of Wolfman to life. So let's go ahead and dive into this article, Stuart. This comes to us from Empire Magazine. Wolfman is Leigh Whannell's return to straight up pure horror after The Invisible Man. It says Leigh Whannell has long had a propensity for producing palpitation-inducing terror. He co-created both Saw and Insidious alongside James Wan, stepped up as director for Insidious Chapter 3, and most recently has conjured gag-worthy gore and breathless tension with the likes of Upgrade and The Invisible Man. But as Whannell sees it, his previous two critically lauded features have been more horror-adjacent genre hybrids, and with his upcoming Wolfman, another fresh take on one of Universal's classic monsters, he's ready to really scare you again. This is what Whannell says. Upgrade was more sci-fi action. I was watching a lot of domestic thrillers when I wrote The Invisible Man because I love that genre. Wolfman is me saying I just wanted to make something that is straight up pure horror. At the heart of the lycanthropic lunacy is Christopher Abbott, whose Blake returns to his childhood home in the Oregon wilderness, taking his family with him. But after he's attacked by something in the night, he starts to transform into something more beast than man, placing his wife Charlotte and daughter Ginger in serious peril. For Whannell, it's another chance to reinvent one of cinema's oldest horror properties, just like he did with his smart and seriously tense take on The Invisible Man. I think of it as a companion piece to The Invisible Man. I didn't want this film to be nostalgic or retro Wolfman film in any way, and that meant coming up with all new ideas of how to bring werewolf mythology to the big screen. I was actually writing down in my notepad everything that's been done and then saying, okay, that's the list of what not to do. I'm hoping that you go in and say, oh, wow, I haven't seen that werewolf movie before when the lights come up. We're already howling at the moon in anticipation. So the writer of Wolfman is letting you know about the the mindset that he had in regards to tackling Wolfman, coming straight off of something like the Invisible Man. And so he's ready to go into straight horror with this one, Stuart. So after hearing the writer's pitch in regards to how he wants to tackle Wolfman, what are your thoughts in regards to what he had to say?
First of all, I do like how he seems to be really into, the classic horror and the idea of like kind of modernizing it, and not just like kind of relying on nostalgia bait that you'll see like a lot of directors kind of doing. But that being said, I will say this: it's one thing to like make sure that you're telling your own story, you're not just repeating what's already been done. But I don't think it's the wisest idea to make a list of things that have already been done, because then I don't know, it feels like you're not only limiting yourself, but you're also like kind of forcing elements that may not work in your movie just because you don't want to do something that someone else has done before. And so it means you have to replace it with something that, something that may not actually work for the movie, but you're doing it just because it hasn't been done before. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case for this movie. I'm just saying it has more potential to be the case in something like that. So hopefully it's not. Hopefully this ends up working really well. But I do like a majority of what he's worked on, I'd say. So I'm definitely excited to see how this plays out. I also am curious what he means by it being a companion piece to the Invisible Man, because I know that they were originally meant to be part of the Dark Universe. But then, of course, they ended up canceling those plans, and so the movies ended up being more standalone. But with that being said, though, like with them being standalone, I wonder if they're still going to be kind of low key connected, like if there's going to be like kind of subtle Easter eggs that connect the two of them.
Yeah, I'm kind of under the impression when he mentions that there might be subtle connections. When it is a companion piece, it is usually sort of written closely related to whatever they did before. So I am kind of hoping that it's kind of in the same vein of the Invisible Man, with maybe some connective tissues as well, in the sense of it maybe taking place in the same universe. I am fascinated in the idea that they have brought him back to also write the Invisible Man. One of the things that I loved about the Invisible Man was its original take to the concept, the idea of modernizing it to it being like a legit suit, instead of somebody just having the ability to turn invisible. You know what I mean? The fact that they modernized it to a more grounded reason as to like, hey, how this person has that ability to become invisible. So to kind of take those sensibilities and turn that into a Wolfman story makes me feel like we're going to get something really original here. And I would agree with you, Stuart, in the sense of there are probably some things from past Wolfman movies that have worked. So the idea of, hey, just because this has been done before, the idea of deciding this is something that we can't do. I hope that he's not fully looking at that list and saying everything on here we cannot do. I do hope that there are some pieces that he takes from previous Wolfman movies that did work, to go ahead and maybe put that together in regards to this and still making it feel relatively new. Because despite the big swing that he took for something like the Invisible Man, sometimes you swing for the fences, Stuart, and you completely miss, and sometimes you completely fail. And so I do think, especially when it comes to something like the Wolfman, I hope that he treads lightly in that regards, because I do think with something like Wolfman, you could probably really jump the shark maybe a little bit too quickly. Regardless, I'm eager to see what they do, and the fact that they brought him back to also write something like the Wolfman does give me hope that there is connective tissues in here, that this is something that the production company or the studio itself is trying to kind of build upon. And I hope it's successful. I do like the idea of going back to pure horror. I'm not too familiar with his work, with the exception of what he did in regards to writing the Invisible Man. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen Saw, I've seen Insidious and things like that, some of the things that he's helped kind of co-create. But I really would like to see what he's able to do in something like this horror realm a little bit. And I think for not just me, but probably for you too, Stuart, and a bunch of other people that are big fans of werewolves, just get the transformation right.
I was actually about to say that because,
Just
like,
get the transformation right.
yeah, you can write a list of all the things you don't want to repeat that's already been done before. But if you wrote transformation sequence on that list, don't write this movie. All right, yeah, you are unworthy of writing a werewolf film at that point, because every werewolf movie needs to have an epic transformation sequence. That should be like a law.
Yeah, man, just give me a good transformation sequence, and I might be a happy camper. I might be able to forgive some of the other things and concepts of the film itself. But overall though, I do like what I'm hearing. The teaser trailer itself was intense. Definitely teased the idea of a werewolf transformation without giving too much away. Anytime you mention the idea of Oregon wilderness, you already got me in the creepy vibes for sure. So as long as he sticks true to his word of going back to something more pure horror, I think that alone will certainly separate it from what he did with the Invisible Man, but also taking some creative liberties to give us something original while hopefully tapping into some traditional aspects of Wolfman. I'm hoping this movie is successful, because look, to be honest with you, Stuart, if he does a great job on Wolfman and he did a great job in the Invisible Man, I got to think that not only will they give him work to be like, hey, do you want to do another one of these characters? But maybe he will help them then in turn rebuild a potential monsterverse cinematic universe and kind of connect a lot of the future projects even further. Like maybe he'll be the architect of bringing this kind of all together. You know what I mean?
Yes, which would be I'd be down for it. Again, depending on how this movie does.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on how this film does. But guys, let us know your thoughts. You hear the words from the writer of Wolfman, how he plans on tackling this completely different from what he did with the Invisible Man. What were your thoughts on the Invisible Man? Go ahead and let us know your anticipation level for something like Wolfman in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we will go ahead and move to our next topic, as we're going to go back to the television side of things and dive into a very classic character in that of Robin Hood. That's right. Robin Hood is back in the news here this week. No, Kevin Costner is not returning to the role. But Robin Hood is one of those classic characters, Stuart, that for me personally, I don't know if I'll ever get tired of. There is a concept of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor that's kind of always kind of won me over. The guy that wants the people that are getting unfairly treated to sort of get their fair share as well, trying to stop those that are hoarding all the money for themselves sort of mentality. Robin Hood and I think Zorro are kind of like those two classic characters that I've always been quite fond of, that I think what they fight for will honestly never get old. And so the idea of being able to revitalize and reboot these characters for maybe a more modern time, or just doing more content with them in general, I think is always a big win. It'll be interesting to see exactly how they're received in the 21st century after being such classic characters for such a long time. But it seems as though they seem to believe, when it comes to Robin Hood, Stuart, that there's still more left for them to explore, as it looks as though we're going to be getting ourselves a drama series for Robin Hood. Let's go ahead and dive into this article real quick. This comes to us from Deadline.com. A Robin Hood drama series has officially been greenlit over at MGM Plus. MGM Plus is getting into the Robin Hood business. The network streamer has ordered a 10-part series based on the English folklore to air in 2025. The series comes from Jonathan English, executive producer of The Librarians, along with showrunner John Glenn, who previously was the showrunner on CBS SEAL Team. It says here the series, hold on. It says English, who founded Serbia-based Balconic Media have been pitching their take on a new version of Robin Hood for the last couple of years, having previously held talks in Budapest back in 2023. The series, which will begin production in Serbia in February, is a modern take on the classic ale of the roguish outlaw hero who stole from the rich and gave to the poor, and the epic love story between him and a courageous and daring Marion. Following the Norman invasion of England, Rob, a Saxon forester's son, and Marion, the daughter of a Norman lord, fall in love and work together to fight for justice and freedom. As Rob rises as the leader of a band of rebel outlaws, Marion infiltrates the power at court as both work together to thwart royal corruption and bring peace to the land. Glenn and English are writing and also executive producing. The series will air on MGM Plus in the US as well as in the UK and internationally some other places. This marks the latest remake of the Robin Hood story. In the last 30 years, we've had Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Mel Brooks' Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Ridley Scott's Robin Hood starring Russell Crowe, and Otto Bathurst's Robin Hood with Taron Egerton. I believe that's the last one that I had watched with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx.
I definitely recommend Men in Tights from Mel Brooks. If you haven't seen that, that movie is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, man, you can never go wrong with Men in Tights. One of my favorite scenes is Little John, who is not little at all, falling into a creek, and then like,
I'm drowning.
I'm drowning. I'm drowning. You're like, just stand up, man.
Like even in the movie this itself, they were like, just stand up.
Yeah, it's so funny. I do love Men in Tights, man. But Robin Hood drama series greenlit at MGM. First, look, let me just say this, Stewart. Does anybody have MGM Plus? I mean, I'm kind of curious as to how big this streaming service is to begin with. The idea of it being on the MGM Plus does kind of concern me because I got to assume that they've pitched this idea around to a lot of different streaming services, and I do wonder what the bidding war for a Robin Hood drama series was, or if they even had one, or if like MGM Plus was like the last streaming service on the list and was like, yeah, we'll take it, we'll take it. Because I am kind of curious, like what the subscriber base is for MGM Plus and who actually has an MGM Plus subscription. If you do in the chat, please go ahead and certainly let me know. So it already makes me curious as to like how far of a reach this series itself will get. I am curious as to what other MGM Plus series that they have had that have also been sort of big hits that have been produced by MGM Plus in here. But the other question I would also have is like, how modern of a take on Robin Hood are we going? You know, I personally tend to like the more period piece, kind of going back to the classic time period for Robin Hood. Not to say that you can't make Robin Hood more modern. I would be kind of curious to see like how they would go ahead and make a Robin Hood placed in the 21st century if that's the role that they want to do.
Well, you have that. It's called Arrow season 1 and 2.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're absolutely right. So who knows? Maybe they take some influence from the Arrowverse a little bit and give us a little bit of Green Arrow in a modern time. So I guess yes, it technically can be done. So I would be interested to see what route that they definitely go in here. But Stewart, I'm always a big fan of Robin Hood. While I may not like everything that they certainly drop, it is a character that I've been a big fan of, and I'm at least usually intrigued to kind of see their particular take or how they would go about it. But yeah, so I'm on board with this. I would be open to it. I don't know if I will watch it. Maybe I'll watch the first episode or two and see if it's something that I'll be a big fan of. But this is definitely going to be like a wait and see category for me until I see a little bit more. Because again, I just don't know how good of a series it is if it's being picked up by MGM Plus, to be honest with you. But maybe I shouldn't feel that way though.
Yeah, so I'm definitely on board with you. I'll definitely be checking out the first couple of episodes when it comes out. If it's on anything except for MGM Plus, because I'm looking through MGM Plus and a majority of what I'm seeing on here I can find either on Tubi or on Paramount Plus. It's just not enough for me to justify being able to pay another $8 for a whole nother streaming service. So yeah, I will definitely be checking it out if it is on anything else, like if it's on something that I actually already have a subscription to.
Yeah, I am interested in regards to like why MGM Plus picked it up. Like, did it have any other bidders? Did anybody else see the concept of this and thought to themselves, like, maybe we should try and get the series on our streaming service? So the fact that it did end up on MGM Plus does have me a little bit concerned in regards to like, is this even going to be good enough for a vast majority of people to get their eyes on this series? So who certainly knows, but we'll see. We'll see what transpires here, but they are clearly moving forward with a Robin Hood drama series. Do you have a particular time period you'd like to see this in? Do you want them to go more classic style, or would you like to see them modernize it for more 21st century?
I guess since I've seen the classic style so many times, I wouldn't mind to see if they did a modern adaptation. I'd be curious to see what that would look like, actually. So I'd be down for that.
Yeah, like I don't know why when I think of Robin Hood in a more modern time, I don't know why I think of like the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet film that we wind up getting. You know, taking the classic tale and modernizing it, like, but they still had like the Shakespearean lines and dialogue and stuff, but just from an aesthetic point of view and set design and just world building, it was all very sort of modern. I wouldn't mind sort of like a take like that, Stewart.
I wouldn't want the dialogue to be like
No?
that,
Okay.
personally. I kind of hope that if they set in modern times, they fully commit to it being modern times, like have the same exact characters, but like in a modern setting. Like what would a king in today's time be? Would they be like the president, or would they just be like a really big media conglomerate? Would they just be a business person? Something along those lines, you know?
You know, I'm kind of patting myself on the back. I kind of like my concept. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I kind of dig. I don't know why there's something about like the classic dialogue of that of a Robin Hood tale placed in modern society. I don't know. It may not work for everybody. Kind of like I don't know if the Romeo and Juliet kind of worked for everybody too, but I think it would be unique to the Robin Hood franchise in this sense. But I don't know. That's just something I was thinking of, but I know it probably wouldn't work for everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
but it would be original, and I'm sure there would be someone who would be, or I'm sure like there would be an audience for it.
there might be. There
And
might
who
be.
knows? Like I'd probably like if it got like enough attention, if I were to like watch it, it'd probably grow on me eventually.
But let us know your guys' thoughts. How do you feel about a drama series from Robin Hood being officially greenlit? Do you have MGM Plus? Are you willing to go ahead and subscribe to that in order to check out this Robin Hood series? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. All right, Stuart. We got three more topics that we're gonna dive into. Let's get into our comic book bag, maybe, because we're gonna get into some Green Lantern talk. I feel like over the past several weeks, Stuart, we have had several updates in regards to the casting for Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern that's going to be showcased in the upcoming Lanterns DCU series. The Lantern series is set to actually have Hal Jordan and John Stewart together as they're going to be trying to solve a mystery via sort of like a true detective vibe, if you will, with the Lantern series really providing one of the main storylines that's supposed to intertwine all throughout the DCU projects. So Lanterns will be telling sort of the overall origin story, I guess I guess you can say, in regards to the bigger picture as to what's going to be happening in the DCU. A couple of weeks ago, there was an announcement that Josh Brolin was offered the role of Hal Jordan. He was offered the role, but apparently he wind up turning it down. There was some speculation as to who else was certainly on that short list of actors for the Hal Jordan. I mean, we were hearing names like Timothy Oliphant, Chris Pine, Ewan McGregor. Some people were even saying Matthew McConaughey might have certainly have been on that list. So we really had no idea after Josh Brolin turned down the role who was going to pick it up. But Stewart, this name came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this actor's name to be on the radar whatsoever. It does make me ask the question, the short list that we got, was that real in the first place? Was that fake? Or did all those other people turn down this particular role and this guy was like 5 or 6 on the list? It does make me curious as to how that worked out. But ladies and gentlemen, it feels like this is very much official in the sense, and we'll kind of go over it, but it seems as though we have found our Hal Jordan in none other than actor Kyle Chandler. That's right. Kyle Chandler has been picked for Hal Jordan as he is currently in negotiations for the role. Let's go ahead and bring up this article. This comes to us from deadline.com. Kyle Chandler in talks to star in Lantern's DC series for HBO. This is an exclusive. It says Emmy winner Kyle Chandler is in negotiations to star in Lanterns, is what sources tell Deadline. No one is commenting, but I hear Chandler is poised to play Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern character that was played by Ryan Reynolds in the 2011 movie. This series is from Ozark's Chris Mundy, Watchmen's Damon Lindelof, and comic book writer Tom King. Follows new recruit John Stewart and Lantern legend Jordan, two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. The search for an actor to play Stewart is ongoing. The 8-episode Lanterns is produced by HBO. Mundy will serve as the showrunner, and Lindelof and King are co-writing and executive producing. The project, which received a straight-to-series order in June, marks one of the first titles to come out of the DC studios. Chandler, an Emmy winner for his signature role in Friday Night Lights, also starred in Bloodline, Catch-22, and Super Pumped, and features he will next be seen in Back in Action and Anniversary. So Stewart, it seems as though he is currently in talks to play Hal Jordan. Josh Brolin certainly turned down the role, but it seems as though Kyle Chandler is picking up where Josh Brolin certainly left off at. I do want to start with you first. One, how do you like this casting? What do you think of Kyle Chandler, certainly as an actor? How do you feel about this one?
You know what's funny is that he's not my favorite actor, but I definitely prefer this casting over Josh Brolin as Hal Jordan, just because I feel like he, everything I've seen him in, he really knows how to like balance like humor and drama pretty well. I think he's a pretty fantastic actor for the most part, even though he's never done anything like really huge. He's never really stood out super, he hasn't really stood out that much in any of the roles that he does. He definitely like gives it his all, and I definitely can see a lot of potential in this casting here. It'll really all like what it'll all come down to is who they cast is Jon Stewart and how their chemistry goes. As for the other actors that were listed for the opportunity to play Hal Jordan, and they ended up not getting it. What I think happened, honestly, I think they were just too afraid for this role because of like the backlash that the original Green Lanterns had. And then there's also the fact that they're stepping into a new cinematic universe that it's still unknown whether or not this is even going to be a success or not. So, if Superman were to come out and like, let's just say not only does it bomb at the box office, but it gets like terrible reviews, the hype for this show would be just non-existent, I think. So I think there's also like kind of a bit of a risk factor for a lot of these actors of why they chose not to take up the role. So I think who they got is great. I think he's going to do a great job in the role. He may not be the face that they were hoping for, the face that would really draw in a crowd, but he is definitely someone I think is going to give a pretty good performance and can definitely bring in that humor that Hal Jordan is very well known for, something that I don't think we could have seen. I don't think it could have been done as well if you had someone like Josh Brolin in the role.
Yeah, I think I don't I don't know if Kyle Chandler certainly was my first choice, but it is significantly different from that of what Josh Brolin might have brought to the role for sure. There is a level of Josh Brolin that if they wanted to go the Lantern veteran route, I can see sort of that rough, sort of been through the mud and trenches sort of Lantern that's kind of come out on the other side, if you will, after all the experience that they've put in. But it's that level of sort of like charm and that hot shot sort of pilot mentality that while I do think Josh Brolin could pull off if he wanted to, I don't know how natural that is for him. But when I look at Kyle Chandler, it's almost like the complete opposite flip here for me, in the sense of like, if you want somebody that can be charming and pull off that cocky pilot sort of mentality, I can easily see somebody like Kyle Chandler pulling that off. I will say this too, like, I feel like Kyle Chandler is one of those guys that anytime we see him in a movie or television series, he always does a fantastic job, but he's never like the lead that we feel like when we leave a movie or a television series that we talk about the most in something. I do wonder if he sometimes gets overshadowed by other actors that might be in these other movies or television series that he's in, with the exception of something like Friday Night Lights. I mean, look, he is an Emmy winner, so that's not to say that he's not capable whatsoever. I mean, this guy clearly can probably pull off this role if he's an Emmy winner, what he's done with some of his past performances, if you will. So when I think of Kyle Chandler, though, I do think that he tends to be that actor that gets lost in certain movies, even though his performances for his characters are always pretty superb. So I am eager to kind of see what he's going to do in this particular movie. I really liked him in Argo. I thought he was great also in Super 8. I enjoyed him in Manchester by the Sea as well. Just looking at some of his IMDb stuff in here, he was pretty good in some of the Godzilla stuff that he popped up in as well. But again, it's not something that I like go home writing about, in the sense of, oh man, he really blew me away sort of mentality. But I do think that in the role of Hal Jordan, I think he could certainly make this role shine. I think if you are looking for that charming character, great smile, type of mentality, boom, that's your Hal Jordan right there. Him as a veteran Lantern, though, I do want to see more from Chandler, in the sense of can he come across as that serious veteran? And I think you brought up a good point too, Stewart. Like, for me, it's really going to come down to what the on-screen chemistry is going to be like between him and Jon Stewart, in the sense of, will Jon Stewart feel like the bigger role in this series, or will Kyle Chandler be able to feel like the bigger role, in the sense of taking somebody like a Jon Stewart under his wing, helping guide him sort of thing, helping train him sort of mentality? I do want to see if Kyle Chandler can pull off sort of that veteran, maybe a little bit tough on his rookie cadets at times when he certainly needs to. I don't know what the future of Hal Jordan is going to look like in the DCU. If this is, some people say because it's Kyle Chandler, they immediately get worried that he's going to die at the end of this show, that he tends to like be killed off in all the things that he participates in. And so it does make me wonder, what is the fate of Hal Jordan going to be after this series? One of the speculations that we had, Stuart, when we saw Josh Brolin, was maybe they might go the villain Parallax route at some point in time. With Kyle Chandler, that brings into question even more if that's the route that they originally wanted to go or not, or if that's something that they'll even do. Again, that's just speculation on our part. It would make me feel like I don't know if Kyle Chandler can play that villainous type of role, but I've seen him in so many great things that he's done a great job in. Maybe he does have that range, but it's definitely going to be sort of a wait and see. So definitely not my first choice for a Hal Jordan, but I do think a great choice. But I definitely need to see a little bit more from him to see how he's going to tackle this role in general. But I do think it will all come down to what the chemistry is going to be like, who plays him opposite when it comes to Jon Stewart personally.
Yeah, my prediction is they won't kill him off in this series, but I don't think he's going to be the main Green Lantern. I think that going forward with the Justice League movies, I think that we're going to be getting John Stewart as the Justice League Green Lantern. But like I don't think they're going to kill off Hal Jordan. I think we'll still see more of him in the future.
But Sam says Kyle Chandler was in Peter Jackson's King Kong. I'm trying
Was
to remember.
he?
Yeah, he was Bruce Baxter. He played him in 2005 King Kong. I have to go back and revisit
Yeah.
to watch him in that one. I forgot he
It
was in
is-
Mulholland Falls back in 1996. He's had a pretty great career, man. He really has.
Wait, Mulholland Falls, is that the David Lynch movie?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah. If I remember correctly, I think that was actually meant to be a TV show originally. Never got picked up, so they turned the pilot into a movie.
He was also in The Wolf of Wall Street as well. So yeah, look, Kyle Chandler has the chops to pull this role off for sure. But I would be really curious to learn a little bit more. But I would agree with you, Stuart, in the sense of from what I had heard, a previous report, I don't remember if it was from Jeff Snyder or if it was somebody else, but one other report that I heard was that those other people that were on the short list might have turned down the role because of their trepidation of the 2011 Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, to be quite frank with you. And they just feeling like, just as far as a franchise, they're worried about how it would certainly be received. But if anything, it's really curious, especially based off of the idea that not only did Tom King, but Damon Lindelof wrote the script, for them to still read the script, and still be sort of fearful. Does make me wonder, like, what did you guys read in the script that would make you fearful of the same things happening? So I don't know. I am curious if it's just more of a them taking measures just to avoid it completely because of what happened, or if they are truly that worried about the script.
Yeah, I'm going with the they just don't want to repeat the past. I think again, it's a mixture of that and that they don't know anything about what this new universe is going to look like, at least not yet. For,
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, for this, I don't know. I think that like he's not going to be in his prime, but that doesn't mean we're not going to get him in his prime later on. I mean, I feel like because James Gunn did say that with his DC universe, he wants to take more of a Star Wars direction with it, in the sense of going from one timeline to another, not necessarily having everything take place after another. Like currently with Creature Commando, Superman, and Lanterns, it's going to be each one's taking place after the other. But going down the line, he's willing to do movies that take place like in the past. So I could easily see him making a Hal Jordan standalone movie like at some point down the line. I don't think personally for me, I don't think this is James Gunn trying to disrespect Hal Jordan. I think he wants the attention to go to Jon Stewart, because for the current generation of people, watching superhero movies, I think a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them grew up on Justice League, the cartoon series, which had Jon Stewart. So I think for a lot of them, Jon Stewart is kind of their Green Lantern, just like how Wally West is a lot of their Flash, So I could actually see them doing that with the Flash too. Give us Jon Stewart's Green Lantern and Wally West as the Flash. Barry Allen may already be retired in this universe.
I do hope we get a Wally West Flash. I think Wally West has been a little bit disrespected ever since they brought back Barry Allen in the comic books, because Wally West was a lot of people's Flash for like a decade at least. Like
yeah.
the 90s. The 90s was all about Wally West, and so I would like to see Wally West in that role. And I think the same thing goes for Green Lantern, in the sense of Jon Stewart kind of being that modern Lantern to kind of take over. But again, Hal Jordan and Barry Allen are two versions of these characters that have been beloved for years. Like I understand why they continue to bring them back and utilize them in such big roles, sort of thing. And look, there is a part of me that, yes, I very much like Luke Skywalker, Stewart, I would like to see Hal Jordan in his prime. Whether or not that's something that we wind up eventually getting in a prequel television series, a prequel movie, who's to say that Lanterns doesn't have a couple of flashback sequences of a younger Hal Jordan in there as well? So I think maybe leave it open, but you know, to each their own. I mean, I get the idea of not having a Hal Jordan in his prime, especially when you want to go ahead and boost John Stewart, who's probably a character you'll probably be utilizing for years to come in the DCU. I mean, Zack Snyder wasn't going to give us a Hal Jordan either, right? He was going to give us a John Stewart in his Justice League as well. So it makes sense that to me at least that John Stewart's in there. But I get the disappointment from some Hal Jordan fans, but I still think James Gunn will do Hal justice in here because I'm sure he understands that Hal Jordan's got a fan base to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on Kyle Chandler being our Hal Jordan. And speaking of which, when it comes to John Stewart, we do have some a short list of actors that are currently up for the role. According to Hollywood Reporter, Lantern says Aaron Pierre, who we literally just been talking about over the past couple of weeks, along with Stephen James, are in the mix to play John Stewart in the DC studios. Look up the most recent Aaron Pierre oh, never mind. It mentions it right here. It says Aaron Pierre, star of Netflix thriller Rebel Ridge, which I got to check out. I've been hearing great things about Rebel Ridge along with Aaron Pierre's performance. And the piano lesson actor Stephen James are in the mix to play fan favorite hero John Stewart. Multiple sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. It is unclear if the pair are testing or reading, and sources say a decision could be made by the end of the weekend. So who knows? Maybe we get ourselves a breaking news announcement today, or maybe they kick off our Monday with an announcement of who's playing John Stewart. Damson Idris, star of FX Snowfall, was on the short list, but is no longer in contention due to a scheduling conflict, according to sources. HBO and DC had no comment. They talk about Kyle Chandler landing the role of Hal Jordan. Still, Chandler is a TV heavyweight, having won an Emmy for NBC's Friday Night Lights and earned nominations for Netflix's Bloodline. He handily fit the bill as a seasoned name to pair with the fresh-faced actor. Lanterns is said to have a gritty True Detective vibe and follows Hal Jordan as he reluctantly mentors a younger Green Lantern in John Stewart. So that's a interesting twist there. I don't know if we ever heard of the reluctantly mentors, but clearly there's some feelings that he has about it. But yeah, it looks like that's mostly what we're getting here at this time. So these tend to be our two shortlist actors for the John Stewart role. Again, Aaron Pierre, who's seen on the left for Rebel Ridge, and then the piano lesson star on the right, Stephen James, and apparently Damson Idris from Snowfall was on the short list, but is no longer in contention for the role as well. So look, I like I'm on board with any of these actors, to be quite frank with you. There is a pushback that I've been seeing on Twitter that's just kind of made me upset. Stuart, I'm not gonna lie, I've been seeing some people talk about the idea that Aaron Pierre is not black enough. That he's too light to play the role of John Stewart, and it just makes me roll my eyes a little bit, to be quite frank with you. But you hear the short list. How do you feel about it, man?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen much from either of these two actors. I've definitely seen a few films that they're in, but mostly movies that they don't play like the biggest part in. But that being said, like I definitely think either one of them look like they can pull off the role of John Stewart just fine. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna try to like, you know, stay in my lane a little bit, but I'm just going to say that, yeah, when I hear people saying like that term of like, oh yeah, he's not black enough to play this character. Yeah, that pisses me off too. Like, you know, but you know, so that being said, looking at the two of them, like, I think they both could pull it off. They both have the fitness that, you know, you need to have when playing a character like John Stewart. And they're both in that perfect age range of being like, you know, if we're going with kind of a somewhat younger Justice League cast, he's that perfect age range for John Stewart to be fighting alongside with David Cornswit's Superman.
You know, I got to say, Stuart, I'm a fan of both of these gentlemen. I personally would be okay if either of them got the role. You know, but when you tell me that Kyle Chandler is Hal Jordan playing opposite either of these guys, I think Aaron Pierre would just eat this dude's lunch, man. Like he's just the guy is just so big and intimidating. And granted, you know, when I think of John Stewart, I do think of like a veteran from, you know, the military. You know, he's been in the trenches and stuff. You know, that Aaron Pierre, I can definitely see. But when I think of Aaron working opposite of Kyle, I just think to myself, like, man, it just feels like an odd pairing because I just feel like Aaron Pierre would just bully the hell out of Kyle Chandler half the time. Like, I just can't see Chandler as like this reluctant mentor to somebody as intimidating as Aaron Pierre. But who knows? Maybe Kyle Chandler is just that good of an actor. Whereas when I look at somebody like a Stephen James, I can maybe see that as a more of a younger sort of wet behind the ears rookie of a John Stewart that may be a part of like coming from the army and his time in there, but you know, maybe still relatively young in his career. I don't know. I just get two different vibes from both of these actors when I look at them. But maybe I need to go down some of their past work and just see like what their range and what they're certainly capable of at the end of the day.
You know, with that, then I kind of hope it goes to Aaron Pierre because the things I've been hearing about this show, and again, I want to stress that this is all rumored, but it sounds like they really want Hal Jordan to be kind of like the straight man, whereas John Stewart will be kind of like the funny, like out of the two of them, which to me doesn't make sense when you look at the context of the comic books. Right. It's always been the opposite. Hal Jordan has always been the much goofier one, whereas John Stewart has always been the more, you know, playing it completely straight. I mean, when you look at the relationship dynamics between like him and Wally West in the Justice League animated show, it's like one of my favorites. You know how Wally's just like constantly annoys him, you know, but like they still have that awesome friendship between the two of them. You know, that's kind of something I would like to see. Like not I don't want like you know, Hal Jordan to necessarily be as goofy as Wally West, but you know, he's got to be the one who's got to be okay with cracking a couple of jokes, especially because he's used to this kind of world.
That's totally
John
Kyle.
Stewart,
Totally Kyle Chandler, though.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I think exactly. I think that kind of chemistry will work a lot better than if we're going for, you know, someone to be a lot more intimidating looking as John Stewart. So yeah, I guess like with that, like with your description, I'd say give me Aaron Pierre then.
Yeah, I mean, if we are gonna go with a John Stewart that might be a little bit more serious, then yeah, I can see somebody like an Aaron Pierre being in that role of John Stewart. But we'll see. I don't think they can go wrong with either of these roles for either of these gentlemen. But if anything, I probably will need to do my work and check out some of their past work and just see what they're going to be bringing to the table. But I have heard great things about Rebel Ridge. So I might have to check it out for myself, but we'll see how it turns out, man. But the casting is certainly coming along. Apparently they are getting ready to go ahead and start production for Lanterns this upcoming January. I think they're supposed to be doing Green Lantern television series in January and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow in January as well. So for the next several months, we will be hearing a lot of announcements, not only from Lanterns, but also from Supergirl as well. So get ready for a lot of Lanterns material headed your guys' way. So Kyle Chandler, ladies and gentlemen, in talks to finalize his role as Hal Jordan, and casting for John Stewart has in fact continued with our short list. Aaron Pierre and Stephen James being the last two in the running here for John Stewart. Do you guys have any preferences? Certainly go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. But I'm loving how this is coming together, Stewart, personally.
Yeah, definitely. I am excited, man. Finally get the Green Lanterns back, and it's in a true detective style show. You know, even if they have to make some changes here and there, I think this is going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Sam says we need Guy Gardner in live action. We're definitely getting him. Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner in the upcoming Superman movie. So we do have another Green Lantern already in this world. Blossom says this guy for Green Lantern, I guess I can give this Green Lantern a shot. Yeah, give it a shot, Blossom. I think you'll be impressed with Kyle Chandler's work and what he's able to do. Sam says Kyle Rayner and Alan Scott could have live action be future live action. You know, I'm not gonna lie, Stuart. There is a part of me that kind of misses the concept of the previous Green Lantern series that we were supposed to get. I kind of dug the idea of it being a Green Lantern of several generations, kind of going back and forth from like past, present to future kind of mentality. I really wanted to have seen an Alan Scott be brought to the big screen, but I still think that there is a future in there, maybe a future JSA film or something like that. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to see him on the big screen. I am fascinated to see if they'll ever pull the trigger on a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. I feel like Rayner was a character maybe back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, where he took over as the role and was like the Paramount Green Lantern at that moment. But I guess I don't know. I always felt like Kyle Rayner was a divisive sort of Green Lantern for people that loved Hal Jordan and wanted Hal Jordan back in that role, but a generation of people growing up with Kyle Rayner as well. Do you think we'll ever see a Kyle Rayner?
I don't know, honestly. He's a character that like I've definitely read like in Justice League comic books, but I don't really know much about him personally, other than the fact that he is not Hal Jordan. That is, yeah, it kind of feels like he was just a character meant to be like an actual like replacement for Hal Jordan, but yeah, I don't know much about him beyond that. So
Yeah,
Alan
Kyle.
Scott, though, I hope we get him.
Kyle, I think I think in the comics he started off as like an artist, if I'm not mistaken. I just can't remember his full on origin story. But I do know Kyle definitely has his supporters, to certainly say the least. So we'll see if Kyle Rayner ever makes it to a live action. It'd be cool if they bump into him as like a cameo or like a character placed in that world of lanterns before he even becomes a Green Lantern. I think that would be pretty interesting to see if they open up the world of lanterns even more after the first season in here, right? Like, do we get a Jessica Cruz? Do we get a Kyle Rayner? Do we get like a Jade at some point in time if we're talking like a future season 2 or 3 of Lanterns? I don't know, but there's a part of me that would like to see Kyle at some point in time. Maybe not in chapter 1, but maybe if James Gunn has plans for like a chapter 2 or 3, maybe we'll see him eventually.
See, if depending on how long the DCU is able to last, and if we get like a spinoff of Green Lanterns, I wouldn't mind another buddy cop show with Jessica and Simon.
Oh yeah, Simon Bass. Yeah,
yeah, I think the two of them had really good chemistry in the comic books, and I think they would make for a really good buddy cop show.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, guys. With that out of the way, though, we will transition over to another DCU project, as we literally just talked about it too. Because not only is the Lantern series set to go ahead and get into production this January, but so is Supergirl. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, will in fact be played by none other than Millie Alcock from the House of the Dragon. She won over the role over Meg Donnelly, I believe, who is currently the voice of Supergirl in the Crisis on Infinite Earths animated series. But Millie Alcock won over James Gunn and won the role of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And as we mentioned, since production set to begin in January, that means one thing, Stuart: casting. As we start to have this film shape itself up here. We got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow casts Matthias Schoenaerts. How the fuck do you even pronounce his last name? Schoenaerts in villain role. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Matthias Schoenaerts. Belgian actor has nabbed the plum villain role in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which Craig Gillespie is directing for DC Studios. House of the Dragon star Millie Alcock is top lining the superhero feature as Kara Zor-El, the cousin of Superman. The feature is inspired by Tom King from his comic and will depart from the earnest take on the character audiences may know from the CW Supergirl series. The story hews closer to a grand sci-fi adventure that's standard superhero fare, as the comic told of a young alien girl who seeks Supergirl's help in exacting revenge for the killing of her family. The villain in the comics was Krem of the Yellow Hills, the man who kills the girl's father. Supergirl is drawn into the conflict when he injures everyone's favorite super pet, Crypto. Supergirl will be the second DC project to go after cameras, before cameras. It is eyeing a January start in the UK and has a June 26, 2026 release date. Trying to see if there's any other details here. It looks like that's the only details that we have as of right now. So Matthias Schoenaerts is in fact going to be playing the lead villain role for this film. According to the story, it hews closer to a grand sci-fi fiction adventure that standard superhero fare as the comic told of a young alien girl who seeks Supergirl's help in exacting revenge for the killing of her family. Apparently, Matthias may be playing the villain from the comic book Krem of the Yellow Hills, the man who kills not only the girl's father but injures Crypto. Now, Stewart, when it comes to Crypto, there are rumors and speculation that he might actually be in the Superman movie. Leave it up to James Gunn to take another character like Crypto and try and bring him to life in the DC studios, if you will. So I am curious as to how Superman ends, since there is speculation that Supergirl may be popping up in that movie also. I am curious if Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is meant to be sort of a prequel to Superman in the sense of showcasing how Supergirl maybe gets to Earth. Does she leave Earth after the events of Superman and goes on this journey with somebody like Crypto, and then things wind up happening? That I'm not quite sure. I haven't read Woman of Tomorrow personally, but people keep telling me all the time, like, you need to read it. You need to read it. It's an incredible comic book by Tom King. So I am kind of curious as to how they're going to adapt this film to the big screen. I am curious, Stuart, have you read Woman of Tomorrow by any chance?
I read the first chapter of it, and something I find funny is like if I were to have been a betting man back in the day and I were to hear the DC lineup, but I didn't know James Gunn was behind it, I would have guessed that James Gunn would have been assigned to direct this movie, because I mean, just from the first the first like 4 issues, I think that's what the first chapter or the first volume covered, was like issues 1 through 4. Just from that alone, it feels very James Gunn-esque, because you start out on a world that feels very fantasy-like, and then before you know it, you're at like a space station where you get to see all sorts of really cool looking bizarre creatures. It feels like something like straight out of Deep Space Nine. So I think that this was something that like I could see James Gunn, even if he's not like directly involved with the movie, I could definitely see him giving some like advice here and there on how to make this anyways, or at least giving some pointers in on, hey, this worked in Guardians of the Galaxy, if you want to try it here in Supergirl. But yeah, I think this is definitely something that has a lot of potential for a big screen adaptation. I like the idea of taking it away from Earth, because then it already, when you're releasing a Supergirl movie the year after Superman, you gotta give us something to show, hey, just because they both have super in the title, that does not mean we're telling the exact same movie or the exact same story. We're giving you a character with the same powers, a completely different setting, completely different story with that, which I think is fantastic. I also like that it seems to be following this comic book in terms of like its plot. I don't remember Crypto being in Woman of Tomorrow, at least not from what I had read so far, but I do remember the whole thing of the girl wanting to get revenge, her fighting Supergirl, and then trying to convince Supergirl to help her because of her super strength and all that. So it does seem like you have a really cool setup there for a movie, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I am kind of curious. I do want to bring up Marcelino's comment. He says, Krem of the Yellow Hills is a D-lister, and James Gunn loves D-listers, but some people say this is a D-lister that doesn't need to be elevated and would rather replace him with a more well-known villain like Rain. Look, I will say I can understand those complaints, because when I come to find out that this gentleman's supposed to be playing some guy named Krem from some hills, I'm like, who's this guy? I have no idea who this guy is, so it doesn't really appeal to me so much. But to be fair, I also don't know what the script asks for. You know, I still don't know how they plan on adapting Woman of Tomorrow to the big screen. There could be more villains in here. Maybe there's somebody else pulling Krem's strings for all we know. Like, I really don't know. This set to be like a big sort of sci-fi adventure kind of film. Maybe somebody like a Krem could be elevated in that route and still be a relatively good story. So, and this is where I think the concept of us as fans having our own fan casting or having our own sort of how we would certainly adapt may not necessarily line up with what the creators are asking for, but I still think that the creators should be given the benefit of the doubt in the sense of let them tell their story, and we'll see if Krem from the Yellow Hills was worthy at the end of the day to be elevated to this particular role. Because you're right, James Gunn definitely does love his D-listers, to certainly say the least, and he does a pretty good job of making them kind of relevant, if you will. But again, this is coming from somebody who hasn't read Woman of Tomorrow, so maybe if I've read it in full, maybe I'll read it and come to the same conclusion. But I'm definitely going to give James Gunn, along with the writer and the director of this film, to certainly do something fascinating with these characters and adapt and make take their own creative liberties at the end of the day. I will also say this too. I am fascinated by the article talking about this girl seeks out the help of this girl seeks out the help of what happened here? Hold on, sorry. I think my thing. Trying to get this thing to reload. I am fascinated in the idea of this girl getting Supergirl's help to exact revenge. When you say something like the words of revenge, though, it doesn't necessarily fall like into the lap of like, oh yeah, that sounds like something Supergirl would do. You know, like the concept of getting revenge on somebody just seems above and beyond what a superhero would do. And so I think that alone kind of fascinates me, right? James Gunn has mentioned before, like, this isn't the Supergirl that we all know. Like, this is not super, like, this is not just Superman's cousin. Like, it's just not like a copy and paste of who Clark Kent is, right? Like, this is a Supergirl that has seen her fair share of terrible things. She's watched her planet die before her eyes. She's got a completely different mindset than what Clark Kent certainly does. So maybe the idea and concept of revenge maybe really works for this Kara Zor-El, but maybe it's going to be a really compelling sort of hero journey for her in the sense of realizing what maybe avenging and the differences between avenging and what revenge certainly means, right? The different connotations that they certainly carry. Because when I think of like getting revenge, I feel like I'm thinking of Supergirl finding this guy and like snapping his neck for killing, you know what I'm saying? Like for killing this little girl's family. And so I will be really interested to kind of see the mental state, the mental wherewithal of where Kara Zor-El certainly is at when this girl comes to her and is like, hey, can you help me with this guy because he killed my family? So I definitely want to see what Kara Zor-El's mental state certainly is in regards to how she handles this, because I don't think it's going to be as heroic as I think we expect for somebody like a Superman to certainly handle. You know what I mean, Stewart? So there are elements to this story that definitely fascinate me. But I would agree, the creme of the Yellow Hills isn't like, ooh, I can't wait to see what this villain does. But I am curious as to how they write him in a compelling story opposite of Supergirl that clearly is going to be going through some things in this movie.
Definitely. But here's the thing. It says that she seeks out Supergirl's help for revenge. It doesn't say that Supergirl agrees to help her get revenge.
Right. You're right.
So I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that, she will definitely go she will cross lines that you would never see Superman cross. And she may even want to take out, this guy for revenge. But I do think that by the end of the movie, that you are going to get that general message of, hey, revenge is not the answer, only justice kind of a thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I haven't finished, like I said, I haven't finished the comic book. So eventually I will get back to it because I have it on my shelf somewhere here, like with all my DC Rebirth comic books. And I do really like Tom King as a writer. So I'll have to definitely finish it at some point before the movie comes out.
But no, I mean, I would definitely agree with you. I have a feeling that's the path that Supergirl's journey will certainly lead her lead her on. It's just interesting to me in the synopsis to use that type of wording in the sense of the girl is seeking somebody like a Supergirl for revenge. Like my thing would be, if you know who Supergirl is, the idea of getting Supergirl to exact revenge just feels out of character for her normally. But I
Mhm.
do think the fact that we are getting this Supergirl from not only the Woman of Tomorrow, but this DCU version of her, I do wonder if there is a mindset that Supergirl will have that isn't as evolved as we say of like Clark Kent, and how you protect people and how you handle situations. So I do think it will be an interesting journey of her going from somebody that is questioning some of her actions to finding her role as what it means to be a hero mentality. So I do think that we'll kind of get that here. So we'll see though. At the end of the day, that's just my speculation.
Yeah.
But let us know your thoughts, guys. The villain role officially cast by Matthias Schoenaerts, if I'm even pronouncing that correctly, playing Krem the Yellow of the Yellow Hills, unless they're taking liberties and they give us a brand new villain for this movie, who certainly knows. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we got one more topic that we're going to be diving into. Again, staying in the DCU realm, as we eagerly anticipate more reveals from James Gunn going forward for his Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. We do know, Stuart, that James Gunn will be in attendance at New York Comic-Con, as we are going to be getting new details in regards to his upcoming animated series, Creature Commandos. But they are also hinting that New York Comic-Con may be giving us more insight in regards to the future of DCU and DC studio projects. Whether or not that means he's going to announce a Chapter 2 and a lineup of movies. Maybe he gives us an idea of future movies that James Gunn is going to be developing. Maybe he's got new insight in regards to movies that he's announced, with some announcements for maybe writers and directors for Chapter 1. Who certainly knows? But there's plenty more characters for James Gunn to certainly tackle. And this week, Stuart, two names have been circulating in some reports that James Gunn may in fact be utilizing, and that comes in the term and the name, I should say, that comes in the names of both Deathstroke along with Bane. Believe it or not, Stuart, there are reports coming from the Hollywood Reporter that Batman villains Bane and Deathstroke may be getting a movie treatment at DC Studios. What that movie treatment might look like? Are these going to be sort of independent films? Like, are we getting a Bane movie? Are we getting a Deathstroke movie? Will this be a combo? Like Batman versus Superman sort of thing here? Who definitely knows? But let the speculation begin, Stuart. Let's go ahead and read details of this coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter. When I first heard this, Stuart, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that we're going to get a Bane and Deathstroke movie. Like, just from first impressions, I'm like, this sounds stupid.
Yeah, I have thoughts, and I'll mention them after the article.
Yeah, well, let's dive into the article a little bit and see what they're talking about here, because there may be more to the story. With a big budget Joker movie just weeks away and a Penguin HBO series freshly unveiled, a few other DC villains are being targeted for the spotlight. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Bane, the super steroid injecting antagonist who was previously seen in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises, and Deathstroke, another popular arch nemesis in the comic book company's fold, are being lassoed together for a movie. The James Gunn and Peter Safran-led DC Studios is developing a script from Matthew Orton, a scribe on the upcoming Captain America Brave New World movie. So they are picking up Captain America writer Matthew Orton for this one. There is no director on the project. It does talk about some of Bane and Deathstroke's introduction into the DC Comics. It says DC and Warner Brothers have found considerable success in highlighting villains on the feature side. They talk about the different anti-heroes that they've been able to utilize, like Joker and Harley Quinn. But taking villains and making them compelling enough to lead a feature that audiences could want to sit through is a challenge. The first step, of course, is the writing. Orton's resume is filled with grounded and gritty work involving criminals and killers. He received his first credit penning Operation Finale. He also created Devil's Peak, a serial killer crime miniseries, and has a hostage thriller Cleaner as well. I think I remember Cleaner, if I'm not mistaken. He earned credits on Marvel's Moon Knight show as well, and he also helped write Captain America as well. I thought there was a section in here that said that they may not necessarily be the focus of the movie as well. So there's that. So they may end up being part of an ensemble cast, and it may not necessarily be sort of a project that is just Bane and Deathstroke in here. So
I could see them being characters utilized in the Brave and the Bold movie.
oh, you think that they oh, I see what you're saying. So you think that they may be yeah, let me get your thoughts on this one first. So you think that they may be a combo of villains for Brave and the Bold?
Yeah, that's probably my best bet at the moment. If it's not like specifically a standalone movie with the two of them, the best bet is that it'd be something Batman related, and we know that there's the Brave and the Bold, which is in the works. But yeah, the thing I hope it's not, all right. I really hope it's not a standalone movie that is a team up movie between Bane and Deathstroke. Because it's not that I can't see the two of them working together. That would be just such a weird way to introduce these two characters. Because as far as I know, and please, people in the comments, correct me if I am wrong about this. I have never seen these two teaming up before, like just the two of them teaming up in the comic books. They've worked together as part of another big group of different supervillains, but I've never seen just like a Bane and Destro combo. And to be honest, that's just like something I'm not super interested in checking out. They have two completely different ways of operating. One of them is basically a kingpin, the other one's just a mercenary, a gun for hire, pretty much. He occasionally takes out people who are, who he has a personal grudge against, but for the most part, Deathstroke, he's the Terminator. He's the guy you pay him to take someone out, and he takes them out for you. So I don't know how you make these two characters work together in a team up movie. So the only way I can kind of see that working is if they're not the focus of the movie, if it's like Batman and the two of them are just like the main villains that they're facing, because it's Batman, there's always crime in Gotham, so it's really easy to see, hey, we got to stop Bane. But then as they're trying to stop Bane, maybe Bane hires Deathstroke to kill Batman, or maybe someone else has hired Deathstroke to kill Batman. You have another factor, things get complicated. That's how you can write the two of them in the same movie. If it's the way it sounded from the article and the way people have been talking about it, they make it sound like this is going to be a standalone movie with Bane and Deathstroke working together. I don't see that working personally. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I don't see the idea of like DC Studios presents Deathstroke / Bane. Like it just feels odd and weird to me to have them in like their own solo team up film. But again, there was a line, I'm trying to find it in this article. I can't remember if it was in the Hollywood Reporter article or if it might have been another article that was writing about this news. But I swear I thought I read somewhere that they weren't going to be like the main stars, that it wasn't necessarily their movie per se, as they were going to be part of a part of a movie, if you will. And so the idea of you bringing up Brave and the Bold, I think, is a really great suggestion. Also, I personally have been ever since they mentioned Batman versus Deathstroke and what would have been the solo Ben Affleck movie, I've been wanting to see that battle for like the longest time now. So if it is Deathstroke and Bane in a Brave New World, I would be completely on board with that. But I do feel like this is going to be I'm definitely under the impression that it's not a Deathstroke and Bane sort of combo movie. I am under the impression that it's going to be either them in some sort of team up movie, like a like you mentioned, they have crossed paths team wise before in other movies, or if this is going to be they're going to be in like one hero film, that I certainly don't know. One of the suggestions that I've been seeing people throwing around is the idea of a secret six film. You know, you do have other characters. This is definitely a team that Bane has been a part of. I don't believe Deathstroke has been a member of the Secret Six, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does pop up in other iterations. But if they wanted to make a Secret Six film, I can easily see Deathstroke replacing one of these other characters and bringing that to life. There was also a part of me that was thinking maybe we might get ourselves like a brand new Legion of Doom sort of movie. You know, with something that would be opposite of a Justice League team that would certainly work together. I don't know if any of these characters, Deathstroke or Bane, have been a part of the Legion of Doom. But if you want to make a more current iteration of the characters, I can easily see that being a thing as well. So I do think that there's options here for James Gunn, and leave it up to James Gunn to maybe put together an ensemble of a villains team in some capacity, whether that be the Secret Six or Legion of Doom. I think that's maybe where he might be headed. The only question and worry that I would have here, Stewart, is two things. One, is this too on the nose? Like, would this be too on the nose for being like a quasi Suicide Squad sort of movie? And you know, are we ready for another big group in the DCU? Because I feel like James Gunn has been teasing the concept of a lot of groups in here so far. And I know we are coming into a world that's populated with heroes. I mean, already implying Justice League International might be a thing. We clearly have like the Creature Commandos team. We know Suicide Squad, even though maybe according to the Creature Commandos trailer, they might have shut down the Suicide Squad program and created Creature Commandos in its stead. We know we've got the Authority here as well. That's going to be in the DC Studios world or the DCU world. Are we going to get a Secret Six or Legion of Doom? I don't know, but I hope James Gunn finds a way of including these characters to allow them to make sense in this bigger overall world that he's creating, and at the same time allow them to shine, because these are two really big names in here. So whether or not they're going to be part of a team or part of a Batman movie, who's to certainly say the least, but I am intrigued. I have some concerns that it might be too on the nose for another Suicide Squad movie, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there with you all the way. Like, there are definitely intriguing places you could take it. If it's a full-on villain movie, it can work, but you know, the other thing is you do kind of risk oversaturating the DC universe now with just team-up movies, because even though Superman's not a team-up movie, we still have a superhero team in that movie. We know that the Brave and the Bold is basically going to be a team-up movie because you're going to introduce the Bat family. We already have Creature Commandos, and then Lanterns, which isn't a team per se, but it is a duo. So yeah, I just think that, like, you know, just if it's a team up movie, I'm not saying I wouldn't be looking forward to it if it's like a full on team of villains. Obviously, like I said, if it's a duo movie between Deathstroke and Bane, I'll probably have like very little, like, low hype for it. But if it's a full like supervillain team, I'll probably be hyped for it. But I'll also be like, I wouldn't doubt if this doesn't do too well, because people are like, can we get back to, you know, standalone or just, you know, single, you know, superheroes and supervillains?
Yeah.
Here's sorry. One
Okay.
more thing. Here's something I do think would work really well for either one of these. I do think Bane and Deathstroke are both interesting enough, though, to carry their own movie, even without Batman. If they want to go that direction too. I just, you know, it's funny. I love them both. I think they could both work well on their own in their own movie. I just don't know about a team up movie between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a Deathstroke movie, but Bane is going to be in it. You know, like I don't know. I will be curious to see what James Gunn certainly has in store for us when we're kind of being thrust into a world that's populated with heroes. I mean, there are a lot of team comic books, and it's kind of hard to find a character these days that is just solo on their own, that's like not part of a team in some capacity or another. You know what I mean? So I almost feel like it's almost more than the possibility of just seeing a lot of cameos from other characters, just because they're so connected at the waist when it comes to the comic books at times. So we'll see what route that they go, but I'm definitely going to let James Gunn cook, to certainly say the least, and we'll see how this or what this amounts to in the DCU, if this is going to be truly a team up movie, an actual team movie, or if they're going to be popping up in another solo superhero project. Who definitely knows? But let us know your thoughts, guys, when you hear this Deathstroke and Bane together in a film treatment for DC Studios. How would you like to see that presented? Let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below.
What do you think of this?
Bring back Joe Manganiello reprising role of Deathstroke and Dave Bautista as Bane. I'm on board with either of those, man. I think Joe can pull off Deathstroke again, just because, yes, while we saw him, he was so brief and just a post-credit scene that if people even made it through Batman versus Superman, they probably would have seen that. Or was that Justice League?
That one was I think he was in both Justice League and Justice League.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I would love to see him reprise the role. Somebody actually pointed out Timothy Olyphant as Deathstroke, which I thought would be a really great casting choice too. We've kind of seen him in, well, I don't want to say Western vibe, but he definitely came across as a protector in The Mandalorian. But I wouldn't mind seeing Timothy Olyphant. I think would do a good Deathstroke, to be honest with you.
That'd be interesting. Had to look up who that was. I forgot the actor's name, but another actor I could see pulling it off. The dad from Euphoria, the one who is Jacob Elordi's dad.
Oh, yeah, I can see that too. Dave Bautista as Bane, I think he's even addressed the idea that that role might be past him now. I know he really wanted to do it for a really long time. He has been losing weight. I think he's getting a little bit more ripped and sculpted. So I don't think Dave Bautista is as big as he used to be in order to play Bane. Maybe if you had asked me like 10 years ago, maybe, even 5 years ago, maybe. But I think Dave Bautista may be past his prime for something like Bane. But who knows? I would be open for it too. I think he's that good of an actor. So
I'm gonna disagree. I think he's still in his prime. I think he still has that intimidating factor to him. I think he could pull off Bane perfectly.
I would be open for it if they were to announce him as Bane. It would not surprise me, and I wouldn't feel some type of way about it. Marcelino says a Secret Six would be cool, but apart from me feels like it's too soon. Yeah, we don't know when it's going to be realized down the line, if that's even the route that they're going. So who knows? Darth Gutierrez, what's up, Darth? Good to see you in, man. He's good to see you in here, because I want to see another live action Bane and finally get Deathstroke on the big screen. Yeah, Deathstroke deserves to be on the big screen, man. I feel like the iterations of him that we've gotten in live action have been great for television purposes, but I do want to see Deathstroke on the big screen, so I need to have him in a big role in some way or another. I personally would love to have him as part of Brave and the Bold. I'm trying to think of didn't they have an animated Batman and Robin movie? Was it Son of Robin? Damn, I can't remember.
It was either Son of Robin or Batman versus Robin, but yeah, where Deathstroke basically killed Ra's al Ghul, and so Damian wanted to kill Deathstroke, but Batman is trying to convince his newfound son not to kill him. So it's like that whole conflict.
I personally would love to see that as a premise for a Brave and the Bold movie. So I would be open to seeing Deathstroke on the big screen in that upcoming Batman movie. And who knows, maybe I can't remember if Bane was ever mentioned or brought up in that animated series, but maybe you can include Bane in there somewhere. So you might be right, Stewart. It might be a Brave and the Bold concept that reports haven't really fleshed out all in all, but it could be something else. But I would agree with you, Darth. I would love to see both of them in live action again. Sam says, I think Deathstroke will be his own film, just like Deadpool. Marcelino says it was Son of Batman movie, Batman versus Robin, when they fought the Court of Owls. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that for us, Marcelino. So we'll see what happens here, man. But Deathstroke and Bane, their names have been dropped. How will James Gunn transition them into a live action for DCU? We'll definitely keep you posted as new details eventually emerge. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
If I am a betting man, I'm going to say we are probably not going to get the Court of Owls in the DC universe anytime soon, and that is because I think they're building up to that with the Penguin and the Batman too. That's the vibe I'm getting, is Court of Owls.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I've been hearing some Court of Owls news for the Batman Part 2 as well, which would certainly make a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Let's see here. All right, guys. With that out of the way, though, Stuart, I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions. Questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer questions segment of the show. How do you submit live viewer questions? Well, I'm glad that you asked. Let's go ahead and show you how to do so. We're just going to go over to our YouTube channel here. Usually Saturday afternoon, Saturday evenings, we drop a live viewer question post. Just go over to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab right here. And you will find your live viewer question post. So we'll bring those up here for you guys today. We'll answer them and then we'll wrap up today's show. So we always appreciate you guys certainly coming through, providing us with your questions. Let's go ahead and get this set up. And if the volume is too loud, please let me know. I'll change it if I need to.
Volume sounds good.
All right, give it some time. Eventually, you guys will hear me. All right, check. We good?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Marcelino, man of the hour here. Couple of questions. Have you read the Radiant Black comics? It's a superhero comic series that's been around a few years now. It's written by Kyle Higgins and has been described as a mixture of Invincible and Power Rangers. It's also part of a shared universe known as the Massiverse, composed of other comics such as Rogue Sun, The Deadly Lucky, Inferno Girl, Red, and so much more, all of which are written by Power Rangers writers. Each comic series is standalone. They won't try to advertise any other comic series, and they only do one crossover per year. So the universe is pretty simple. I have not read Radiant Black comics, but I have definitely heard and seen a lot about them. The concept looks pretty cool. I am a fan of what Kyle Higgins did on Power Rangers. I believe it's still under the Boom Studios banner, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I have not had the opportunity to read this. Have you read any of the issues at all, Stuart?
I haven't read any of it, but like you, I have definitely heard nothing but good things about it. I know a lot of back when I was following every Power Ranger YouTuber back in the day, a lot of them were talking about it, and yeah, so it's been on my radar. I just haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I probably should change that soon.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it. I haven't checked it out yet, though. I am really curious as to what Boom Studios is building over there. You know, I am curious if Boom Studios has a production company, or if they have created anything in regards to taking the properties that they're writing for, and if they've made any movies or animated stuff or television series, or if they even have a vision for doing that type of stuff. Because I feel like Radiant Black has been around long enough to where it's gotten some pretty good acclaim that if you wanted to take a stab out of making a cinematic franchise, maybe that's a path that you can go down and separate yourself from other Power Ranger content or whatever the case may be. So I am curious if Boom Studios is more than just a comic book company, if they have intentions of eventually creating anything live action for this world. I think that they certainly should. Marcelino says they did make an animated Radiant Black short where he's voiced by legendary Will Friedle. So maybe that's something that they kind of expand on. But I would like to see Boom take some risks in the form of animation or television or even movies at some point in time. But no, I haven't read it, but I've heard great things. Secret Wars is rumored to reboot the MCU. If that does happen, what is something you hope changes aside from merging the X-Men and Fantastic Four? I personally want a restart on Ant-Man by recasting both Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne with someone younger and showcase their origin story as Ant-Man the Wasp, with Hank Pym later becoming Yellow Jacket and creating Ultron. I would also like to see comic accurate Secret Invasion where the Avengers fight Super Skrulls. So if Secret Wars is rumored to reboot the MCU, if that does happen, what is something you hope changes aside from merging X-Men and the Fantastic Four?
Personally, I kind of want to see a reboot to the Spider-Man like kind of side of the MCU, in the sense of like maybe like bringing in more Spider-Man characters, like the traditional ones like Harry Osborn, MJ, or I guess we already have MJ. So, but you know, Harry Osborn, also probably bring in Oscorp, bring in like the Sinister Six, that kind of thing. Make it so it's like these are characters that have been in the MCU this whole time. I guess that's one change I would make.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple. I would have some really outlandish remakes of it, and I say that in the sense of I've been very vocal about me wanting to see a Age of Apocalypse sort of setting.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to separate ourselves from what the past MCU was like. So I personally would love to see a more Age of Apocalypse sort of setup. Then again, at the same time, I think that would make vast changes to the entirety of the world itself. So I don't know what characters like Captain America or an Iron Man would look like in that world. But also when I think of Age of Apocalypse, I also think of the short run of Heroes Reborn storyline that we had in Marvel comic books, where after the Age of Apocalypse and they revamped things, we had like Rob Liefeld on a Captain America series. We had Jim Lee do a Fantastic Four series. They rebooted Iron Man and things like that. I wouldn't mind seeing something along those lines if we wanted to reboot the MCU, maybe take a Heroes Reborn sort of route to go, or dive a little bit more into the Ultimate Universe of Marvel and introducing us to characters like a live action Miles Morales as our new Spider-Man. So maybe a mix of Age of Apocalypse and Ultimate or Heroes Reborn universe. I really don't know, but those are the two like big swings I personally would take to make it feel like a significant sort of reboot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? I have no idea what direction that they're going. Some people want to see a recast Steve Rogers and later revealed to be Hydra Supreme, the evil Captain America. That would be pretty interesting. You know, if we're talking rebooting things, give me maybe a Ben Reilly Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
A Ben Reilly Spider-Man, maybe make tackle a clone saga somehow.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many great storylines that they could go down if they absolutely wanted to. But I have no idea how Secret Wars is really gonna leave us off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, neither do I. Like the rumor it's going to reboot the MCU universe, but we don't know that for sure. It hasn't been confirmed by anyone at Marvel Studios or Sony, as far as I know.
And then he says, back in season 1 of The Boys, it was revealed that Homelander sold Compound V to a bunch of terrorists overseas just to justify Soup's being in the military. Many people theorized that the later seasons would follow up on that by having it be a double-edged sword for Homelander, where he unintentionally creates a Soup terrorist that is so powerful it poses a threat to him, forcing him to actually fight threats that pose a threat to him, as opposed to just using his heat vision to solve all his problems. But afterwards, it goes unexplored and gets forgotten about. It was only used as a crutch to boost up another plot rather than being used to elevate both plot lines. Do you agree when most people call it a missed potential?
Well, you know, I quote Road to El Dorado. There's your plans, and then there's our plans. Clearly, you know, us as fans wanted it to go in that direction, but clearly that wasn't the intent of the writers. It would have been kind of cool if that actually did bite him in the ass later on, not gonna lie. But I think because of all the other things that you got going on with him currently, I'm totally cool with them not going back to that plot line and instead sticking with what they have right now. But yeah, I definitely see what you mean though when you say that there was definitely kind of a missed opportunity there. I think they could have explored that just a little bit more in later seasons.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you and Marcelino. I do think it was to a certain extent missed opportunity, missed potential there. I think it would have been really cool if they went down that route. But it doesn't necessarily move the needle for me in a sense of like, man, this show could have been that much better if they went this route. And you know, for that reason, I don't like the show anymore, type of thing, or I'm not really down with it. I don't really have that mentality. I do think it's a missed potential, missed opportunity, but I think the series is more than fine the way that it is. Most talented man in the world. What do you think of the ridiculously long-running beef that Quentin Tarantino has against Bruce Lee? Since his film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where actor Mike Ma portrayed Bruce Lee as an arrogant a-hole, according to Tarantino, he thinks Lee was an a-hole for all the online research he did on him. Actor Michael J. White, who worked with Tarantino in the past, was even asked in an interview about the beef, and White responded that Tarantino was basically using white supremacy by using real-life people in his films and making them look bad. To this day, Tarantino still tells people that Lee was an arrogant a-hole, even though he never met him. Lee's eldest and surviving daughter, Shannon, has been aware and been fighting Tarantino to defend her father's image. Do you think that Tarantino would still be spreading these accusations if Bruce Lee was still alive? Probably.
Yeah.
Not.
No, I think he would. He's the kind of no. He's the kind of guy who doesn't care what people think of him. So he will, you know, whether or not he's right or wrong, he will say what he wants to say, whether or not the person who's alive thinks of him. I mean, if he cared, he wouldn't have made that joke to begin with his daughter still being alive and very vocally upset with the way that her dad was portrayed in that movie. Like for me, I've heard stories like both positive and negative about Bruce Lee, and I think that maybe like if you're gonna have Bruce Lee in your movie for like a scene, like I can see why people would be upset if you only show the negative side of him, because there were also some positive things that he did as well. He was a very charitable person from what I've heard, and you know, like arrogant, yes, but he didn't exactly pick fights with people. He just basically told people, yeah, no, if you pick a fight with me, you're gonna get your ass kicked. So arrogant, yeah, but the way they kind of like wrote him in the movie, it kind of made it seem like he was trying to force that guy to pick a fight with him, basically. Which I don't, from what I've heard, that is not something that Bruce Lee would have done. But again, I never knew him personally, so I can't say for sure. But yeah, so I think that, like, kind of in my perspective of the whole thing, I think, yeah, Bruce Lee's daughter has every right to be upset with Quentin Tarantino. And I think that if you have a person like Bruce Lee in your movie, you know, either show both the good and the bad, or just don't show him at all. I think just showing it one way can be incredibly douchey, especially when it's someone you haven't even met yourself personally. But again, that's just my thoughts.
Shout out to Y Arc here saying Bane and Deathstroke. Appreciate you certainly coming through, Y Arc, for sure. I don't know if you've just started this episode or if you've been with us the entire time, but the Bane and Deathstroke story is the last story that we tackle here just before live viewer questions. But we appreciate you certainly coming through. He says he thinks it's the Sinister Six, the Secret Six as well. So we'll see if it's a Secret Six. But to go back to the question, yeah, I just think it's really douchey of Quentin Tarantino to continue to be pushing this. I mean, I get the idea that he has this concept of who he personally believes Bruce Lee was, but I'm in agreement with you. Like, if he didn't know the person, like, personally, if this is things that you've just heard, I do think it's important to highlight the good and the bad and not just portray sort of one side of the story, because I totally agree with you. His daughter has been very vocal and standing up for her father. And while I personally don't know who Bruce Lee was certainly like as a person, just from some of his teachings and the way that I've seen him talk about his love of martial arts and stuff, like it's hard for me to fathom that he would be the type to just pick fights with people. You know what I mean? But I didn't know the dude personally. But you know, if you're gonna make a film and utilize him as a character, one, I think you need to get like the person's estate to be okay with how you're being portraying this person from their family. And not to say that it needs to be historically accurate, but at least have some common courtesy for somebody that's passed away who had a really big influential role in martial arts and film in general. I think it's only respectful to present them in a particular certain way. And that's not to say to whitewash who Bruce Lee certainly was, but at least put some level of respect on his name, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe you're right, Stewart. Maybe based off of who Tarantino is, maybe if Bruce Lee was still here, he would still talk his shit. But I do think Bruce Lee would have put him in his place by now. But
oh yeah, not saying there wouldn't have been consequences for that.
Yeah.
But you know, it'd be like, I think that there are some celebrities I would probably have had that kind of take with. I think like Chevy Chase is like one person that comes to mind, but this is a person that like I think is universally hated amongst like a lot of people, you know, who work in the Hollywood industry. When you take someone like Bruce Lee, who's like equally loved, as well as people like who will call him out for being arrogant at times, you know, I think that's a lot different. You know what I mean?
But I also don't know, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like how historically accurate that movie is.
Oh, the ending,
you know what I mean?
They literally change history with the ending. They basically take which I didn't know how to feel about this when I saw the movie, and I talked to other people about this, and they all say the same thing. No one knows how to feel about this, but like, yeah, they basically take the tragedy of Sharon Tate's death and they just prevent it, so it doesn't happen in the movie. So they just create a timeline where she doesn't die. So it's like interesting, not where I expected the movie to go, but like I don't know how to feel about that.
So I think because of the fact that this movie was never meant as like a real life story or true to historical facts sort of thing, I think there is some leeway that I do give Tarantino in regards to how he presents his Bruce Lee in here, because it's not like Bruce Lee has a huge role in it, but because of the fact that I know that this movie is not historically accurate, there's a part of me that's just like, okay, like I can see why he would portray him that way, but I think Tarantino's defense in regards to why he portrays him this way is just terrible. If I'm Tarantino, I'm just saying, well, the movie's not historically accurate, so I can present Bruce Lee in any manner that I certainly want to. But that's not what he says. Like he just takes his argument is, no, Bruce Lee was an asshole, so I'm going to portray him. And I'm just like, I don't, you know, Tarantino, you ain't got to say all that, man. Like you really could present this in a whole completely different light, but he picks fight over peace. You know what I'm saying?
I think, yeah, you know what? You said it perfectly. He picks fighting over peace, and that's the issue that people have with it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Hunter? Good to see you in here, man. Thank you so much for certainly coming through, Hunter. Next question. Peg C, what do you think of the news about a RoboCop live action TV series in development as Amazon Prime? I'm open to it. I enjoyed the most recent reboot with Joel Kinnaman. I don't think it was perfect, but it was an interesting and fun sort of remake to it. I would have liked to have seen that built upon more. So I do think there's a world where we live in where a TV series for RoboCop is successful. And I'm pretty confident in Amazon and what they are capable of doing with some of their IPs. So I'm looking forward to a lot of their stuff. The Amazon original series stuff that I've seen, I have been big fans of. So I'm interested. I'm fascinated with it for sure.
Yeah, I think that Amazon has the right resources for an IP like RoboCop, and RoboCop's an easy story to tell. Like, so I think that as long as you have the right people behind it, you got a good product on your hands.
What are your thoughts on season 2 of X-Men 97 being pushed back until 2026? There have been some reports, Stewart, that season 2 will be pushed back into 2026. I believe the reports are also, let me see if I can find the article to give us some context to what he's referring to in here, because I do believe that they've had to do some rewrites, if I'm not mistaken. Superherohype.com says, amidst the controversy surrounding creator Bo DeMeo being fired, according to the report, this one is bound to disappoint fans, that season 2 will not come out until 2026. According to a report by Nexus Point News, the outlet cited sources to claim that the story and scripts were undergoing rewrites, resulting in the delay. Which shouldn't come as a surprise. I think we talked about the idea that they did go ahead and hire a brand new showrunner for season 3, but that they were actually utilizing that showrunner and writer to rewrite some of the episodes in season 2. Bo DeMayo just recently came out and mentioned the idea that he had an Age of Apocalypse storyline in play for a season 2, but he believes that that has been written out and that they are rewriting some elements of season 2. So they are going back and correcting some of Bo DeMayo's work. And so I can definitely see that being one of the reasons for the delay. So that's what I would assume the reasoning would certainly be. How do you feel about that though, Stewart?
Yeah, I think that sounds very possible. Man, like, my concern is I hope they don't end up rewriting an entire season that was probably already written pretty well, only because they need an excuse to decredit Bo DeMayo. I really hope that's not the case, though. That's my concern, because then you end up sacrificing a good product for that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if they're taking their time with it. If it's not coming out till 2026, I guess that is a good thing, because it means they're not just rushing the rewrites. They're actually trying to make sure these rewrites still tell a coherent story. So yeah, I guess I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I am kind of curious, like, how far along production, like animation wise, were they for season 2? You know, I hope this isn't the case of, hey, we had some of these episodes already in the bag, but now we're going to start from scratch with some of these episodes. Like, I wonder how far back of rewrites are we talking about? Has the animation even begun for some of these things or not? That would be my concern. But a little bit bummed because I was a really big fan of what Bo DeMayo did with season 1. I was excited to see his concepts again for season 2, and I thought that they would be a really great momentum building off of what season 1 did. But now that we are getting rewrites for season 2, I do wonder if we will be able to vastly tell the difference between the new showrunner's work and Bo DeMayo's work. So we'll see what season 2 turns out to be. Shout out to Darth Gutierrez again. He says, I'm gonna get hate, but I like the RoboCop 2014. His design was better than the original, for me at least. Yeah, no hate from us, Darth. We were fans of the 2014 version. Maybe not perfection, but there definitely were some highlights to enjoy about RoboCop 2014. I agree with you. The design of that suit was pretty badass. So I am kind of curious if the series will take that idea of creating a new suit for RoboCop, or if we're going to go back to its original design. YARC also says the DCU is going to be a fantastical universe, kind of like the comics. I personally would like to see that. I think somebody like a Matt Reeves taking a more grounded approach works for Matt Reeves, but leave it up to somebody like James Gunn to definitely tackle more fantastical side of the comic books to live action big screen.
Yeah. And like I've mentioned before, it is cool that while I would kind of prefer if the Robert Pattinson Batman took place within the DC universe, I do think it is kind of cool that James Gunn isn't going to like just, you know, stop production on anything Batman related in the DCU just until like the Batman finishes up. I do think it's kind of cool that we're gonna like have two Batman at the same time, one in a more grounded world and then one in like the, you know, DC universe.
We also have Hunter says, do you think we will get the Manhunter in the Lantern series? I am curious if he means Martian Manhunter or if he just means the Manhunter, because there are two different characters in here. Usually Manhunter tends to take on several different roles throughout DC lore, but I do wonder if he means Martian Manhunter. That'd be interesting placement, to say the least. Martian Manhunter, I think, would work for Lanterns just because of his detective persona. That would be interesting if we got ourselves like a John Jones in or John Jones in Lanterns.
Like, I could see it working. personally, I don't think that'll happen, but if it does, I could see it working.
Yeah, I could see it working too. What are your Peg C says? What are your initial thoughts on the Alien Rangers? Did you ever watch Kaku Rangers, the Japanese counterpart of the Alien Rangers? I did watch half of Kaku Rangers. I didn't finish it though. I didn't know. It was a hard series for me to finish. There definitely had some humor elements to it, some serious elements to it. I just don't know how I felt about Kaku Ranger. I was kind of on the in the middle there, to be quite frank with you. But as far as initial thoughts on Alien Rangers, I honestly thought watching it as a kid, I honestly thought the Alien Rangers were like a completely original design when I watched it originally. I didn't know that it was based off of any Super Sentai show whatsoever. So I kind of dug it. And then being from Aquitar, I thought that was actually pretty neat. So I didn't care for the storyline so much because it felt very much like a mini series between two big series for MMPR. So while I didn't care for the storyline so much, I did enjoy the characters and just the costume designs, at least for Alien Rangers.
I always like the costume designs and the alien designs. Not the biggest fan of the voice, but I get it. You have to have something that like kind of distinguishes them and like kind of lets the audience know, oh, they come from like a watery planet. But yeah, I never watched Kaku Ranger though. Is it so you said you saw the first half of it? Is it worth watching?
I would say so. I'm trying to remember if that's where the White Ranger design comes from. Does that come from Kaku Ranger? And the Shogun Zords? I believe so.
Yeah, the Shogun Zords were definitely.
I believe so.
Kaku.
So for just the Saba treatment and the White Ranger as a kid alone, I think that's probably.
Oh no, that's
Die
Die Ranger.
Oh, Die Ranger. That's who I'm thinking of then is Die Ranger. That was a badass series. I absolutely loved it. But I do think I watched some of Kaku Ranger and I just could not get into it because I was a big fan of the concept of like ninjas and I thought, man, Super Sentai's gotta knock this one out of the park. But I don't think I was a really big fan of Kaku Ranger. But I definitely didn't finish it. But yeah, I don't know, Stewart. I don't know if look, to each their own, man. Maybe you'll like it more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blossom says, next question is from Blossom. Did you guys hear about the video game strike that's been going on?
Mm-hmm.
There's a video game strike going on?
I actually, you know what's funny? I only just heard about this last night because I was talking to my coworker who he is a voice actor in video games. And so, yeah, I was like asking him about like what he's been doing like voice acting wise. And he's mentioned that, yeah, there's a big strike going on with voice actors for video games, mostly because there's been a push for developers to start using AI voices in video games, which, I've mentioned my thoughts on AI before in the past, but just in case you haven't heard them yet, basically it's like if it's an independent project that someone is working on by themselves, I have no problem with people using AI, especially if they can't afford to hire voice actors at the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally. I mean, one of my favorite YouTube series that I'm watching is an AI series called Celebrity Yu-Gi-Oh, where you have just it's just the funniest mashups of fictional characters and real life celebrities playing Yu-Gi-Oh together, and it's absolutely amazing. But but it's all done by one person. It's not like this is a big company, it's not like Konami's making this series, But when it's like a video game company, like if it was someone like BioWare, for example, because they're known for having a lot of voice actors in their video games. If BioWare were to develop a game and decide, oh, we're gonna cut costs by replacing all voice actors with AI characters, and it's just like if they were to do something like that and only hire voice actors for like the main characters, yeah, that would upset me because BioWare is a big company. They can afford to hire voice actors. They can afford to actually give people the jobs that they deserve from working really hard. So I'm all for this video game strike. I hope that video game companies, specifically mainstream companies, do not go the route of AI. SAG-AFTRA's union website
We're fighting for the survival of video game performers. This was back on August 19th, so a little bit over a month ago. But it says, "Dear member, video game performers are fighting for our livelihoods, and we're facing a pivotal moment. Employers at some of the largest video game companies want to use AI to replace us using our own performances without compensation, transparency, or consent. Technological advancements have allowed this industry to expand and grow. We know that technology moves forward quickly and change is inevitable. As performers, we can and do adapt alongside it. However, we will not be cut out of the industry we helped create. When it comes to artificial intelligence and digital replicas, we demand that performers retain the right to give or revoke consent and receive compensation and transparency for all such uses of their performers. This ask is entirely reasonable and feasible. We know this because independent and major studios have already signed on our tiered budget and for media agreements, which include those protections. At the bargaining table, the employers have rebuffed our proposals and countered with loopholes-filled language that negates any protections they claim to be offering. Employers understand that our members' performance have value. That's why they want to use them. It's only fair that members be protected and paid for the value of their performances that their performances create." I mean, that just seems like logical. That just means like logic sense to me. Like, why would they not? Like, if you're reusing some of the same voice actors' work, but because you have their voice already saved, they technically just want to use them whenever they want to without compensating the performer. Like, that just sounds stupid. Like, this just sounds like literally just stealing and robbing from these performers. Like, why? Like, it just makes no sense to me, man. That just seems like a natural common sense ask of these video game performers to have those type of level of protections. That's just crazy to me that people would try and take the living from people like that. That's terrible.
It's something that's crazy, but at this point just doesn't surprise me anymore.
Let's see here. We got Darth. He says, you gentlemen stream every Sunday? Yes, we do stream every Sunday. Usually time might change, either 11 a.m., 12 p.m., or maybe later in the evening, like around 7:30 or so. But yes, we stream every Sunday for you guys. All right. Who's next up? We got Blossom also says, "I heard that Lionsgate is going to be using AI. Seriously, why AI? It just feels so unnatural and dull. Sorry to rant about this, bro, but AI sucks," he says. I mean, geez, oh Jody, I'm sick of hearing about it. Human creativity is freaking sacred. On a positive note, you guys remember the Gaim crossover Tokuger had? Would it be cool if Gaim was a comic book character in my Rangers universe, but they brought him to life with their imagination powers? That's just me. Oh, that's kind of a cool concept.
Oh, I just realized I'm muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, all good.
Yeah, I hope AI. I do find that there is reasons for the usage of AI. I just hope that they find a good balance in the sense of it not being not taken away from people's performances and creativity. Like, as long as they're not undercutting the talent but helping to boost the talent, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who else we got here? Jessica Friedman. Would you like to see Kamen Rider get another chance to shine in the States? And would you like to see another team up between Spider-Man and X-Men in X-Men 97? I would be open to a Spider-Man and X-Men crossover in X-Men 97 for season 2. As far as like Kamen Rider getting the chance to shine in the States, they did have a series on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
Black Sun, I think it was. Kamen Rider Black Sun. I think it might have been an adaptation of a previous Kamen Rider show, but adapted for a more modern take. And it was on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but I didn't check out the show. Did you, Stewart? Have you checked it out?
I watched like the first couple of episodes, really enjoyed it. I thought visually it looked really cool. Very, very on the nose with its social commentary. But like, yeah, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. Costume designs were great, which is, you know, what you come to expect from Kamen Rider. And then, yeah, I like how it doesn't, kind of like with Kamen Rider Amazon, it doesn't rely on the formula that a lot of Kamen Rider shows will have, such as the Monster of the Week and things like that. It's able to tell its own story at whatever pace it wants to tell it. And then, you know, it just makes the fight scenes when we get to there, makes them just that much more satisfying to watch.
Let's see here. We got Doomsday. How do you feel that Zendaya will be reprising her role as MJ alongside Tom Holland in Spider-Man 4? Do you feel it's just too early for her to return and they should have waited for Spider-Man 5, or do you think it would make sense? I think it would still make sense. I mean, I know that even though her not understanding or realizing who Peter Parker is or the connection that she had with him, there are elements to MJ being a part of the story that I would be open to. I hope that there's still a look. I personally want a Black Cat finally in Spider-Man 4. I don't know if we're gonna get that if they go the route of a multiverse story for Spider-Man 4 or not. But I would be okay with Zendaya reprising her role as MJ. I have no problem with her maybe not having as big of a role as she did in the previous Spider-Man, but I do think that she should certainly be starring or at least have some level of supporting cast role in a Spider-Man movie. It's that girl that got away sort of mentality, right? Like that person that you still love and want to be a part of, but you still have to see that person every day, and the internal struggle that it leaves with Peter Parker, and maybe, you know, having somebody like a Black Cat pop up in the world that just makes life more difficult for poor Peter in regards to her or MJ sort of mentality. So yeah, I'm perfectly okay with Zendaya being in Spider-Man 4 if that turns out to be true.
I like the idea of the two of them kind of being separate in Spider-Man 4, but like her kind of like through her own like subplot going on, finding her way into Spider-Man's plot, whereas like he's trying to keep her out of it to keep her safe. She wants in on it, and then she's also angry that he keeps pushing her away. She's like, what do you have against me? We don't even know each other. Something like that, you know?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of flexibility that you can have, especially with her not remembering Peter at all. Yeah.
Speaking of Spider-Man 4, with Destin Daniel Cretton officially directing the movie, what do you think will happen to Shang-Chi 2? That I don't know. I just know it's just going to be pushed down further down the line. It does make me worry as to, do they have a story for Shang-Chi 2 yet? Do they even know where they want to place it? Is this going to come between Avenger films? Kind of like how they're teasing Spider-Man? I really don't know. I just, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if it's not even on the docket for Marvel Studios right now, Stuart, to be honest with you.
I don't think it is either. I think at the moment it's like not even slated for any year at the moment. But that being said, I do think it'll happen. I just think that right now Marvel is trying to do everything they can to make sure that Secret Wars is a success. And then after that, that's when they're going to probably focus on like what sequels they want to do next. And I think when we get to there, that's when there's a good chance we'll get, you know, a Shang-Chi 2. But that being said, I'm sure the character is going to arrive, whether or not it's Doomsday or Secret Wars. I'm sure we're still going to see him in a future Avengers movie.
Yeah, I hope so. I think he probably will pop up somewhere. I just don't know where he's gonna pop up at, but yeah, we'll have to see. We also got, he also says, if they were to do a special reunion for Wild Force, how do you think that they would explain Cole's absence? I just don't think we'll get one.
I was gonna say, if they were gonna do that, they would probably just recast him. I don't think they would address it.
Yeah, I don't think that they would address it either, to be honest with you. Let's see here. And then Power of the Morphing Grid. What's up, AJ? He says, we all know that Saban was the problem that Power Rangers suffered from huge continuity issues. For example, after ASJ, Walter Jones, and Toy Trang left the show following contract disputes, there were several situations where the characters could return without the actual actors on screen. The consequences of the three actors leaving meant the character of Richie was written out because he was the potential love interest to Trini. Lastly, Tommy himself kept wearing green clothes in order for the show to use stock footage of Jason, Zach, and Trini during wide shots and close-ups. The episodes where Rita Repulsa turns back time and made the Rangers children again, instead of bringing back the kid versions of Jason, Zach, and Trini, they kept Rocky, Adam, Aisha, and Tommy. Even later, Kat was also turned into a child when the team were once again aged backwards. Another fan favorite episode was Wild Wild West, where Kimberly was transported back in time, where she met the great-great-grandparents of the Rangers. This time, they all looked like her friends. So it would have been that difficult to make the ancestors be played by completely different actors while keeping the MMPR suits but customized with the Western theme. That would make the episodes and timeline much better. Obviously, we all know how much of a cheapskate Ham Saban was, even throughout the Neo Saban era.
Yeah. I forgot. Wait, so the Wild West Ranger episode, that was with Rocky, Aisha, and Adam.
And Adam, yeah.
I remember that episode completely differently. For some reason, I was remembering it as Jason, Zach, and Trini. Okay, so
I do remember Aisha dressed up in like this, the big hat, big dress sort of thing. Also with her Southern Texas twang, or wherever they were at the time during the Western episode. But yeah, I do remember it being those three.
Okay, that's just a weird coincidence. Their family lived in Angel Grove in the 1800s, moved away, and then just generations later decided to come back. Makes total sense to me. I think honestly it would have just made sense had they written those characters to not be from out of town moving into Angel Grove, but had they been students at Angel Grove from the beginning, just characters we've never focused on until season 2. I think that would have been kind of a smarter way of writing those characters in. Especially because, okay, this is a complaint I got both for that cast and when they brought in the cast of Power Rangers Turbo, the secondary cast, is that like what in high school you get like one new student, that'll transfer, and then maybe a couple weeks later you get another new student. How often do you know of when 4 students who happen to know each other just happen to move from one place to another place, the exact same place, and going to the exact same high school? That does not happen. But in the Power Rangers universe, it's happened twice.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, other than that, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions today, man. I think we got everybody. Yeah, it looks like we got everybody's questions. I will go ahead and reboot this, reboot this just to be on the safe side, but I believe we got everybody's comments. Yes, we did. So thank you everybody that certainly participated in the live viewer question portion of today's show. Hunter, John Stewart got arrested in the Justice League series. I'm trying to remember what that's in reference to. He says, I just sent you an image on your replies on your Twitter page. I did look for that, Hunter, but I didn't see anything in the on the Twitter page, honestly, unless it's something that you sent on the Facebook page. Maybe I'll look in the Facebook page. You also say, Sam says, it'll be good for Hasbro Power Rangers new project working. I did hear that there are some rumors of Hasbro recently came out and did mention something that they do have a Power Rangers projects in the works. I don't know what that's going to be as of yet. I'm going to wait and see. I don't know if this is the same project that they're referring to, that the new pitch that Netflix turned down, but they're trying to pitch it to other people. If it's that same pitch, I don't necessarily want it. I don't really care for it. I'm going to have to wait and see what this does turn out to be, though. Darth says, thank you, fellas. Hey, you're more than welcome, Darth. But yeah, we'll be here every Sunday, man, to be honest with you. He also says, what is your thoughts, Hunter? What are your thoughts on Bandai and Namcom going woke? Have you heard about this, Stu?
I don't know. I have not.
I tried to find an article here. Bandai Namco Online shares views on DEI and its implementation in Western re-releases of Japanese games. I don't know if this is what they're talking about. Bandai Namco, this is from August 27th, shares views on DEI and its implementation on Western audiences. It says at Japan's CEDEC 2024, Namco Online held a seminar on the topic of DEI in games, particularly Japanese titles aiming for overseas expansions. The subsidiary that develops and distributes online games. Up until 2023, the company mostly produced Japan or Asia exclusive titles, but has recently moved towards targeting Western audiences as well. Against this background, the company has, according to their quality assurance engineer, come to a place importance on DEI. It seems Namco Online first became aware of DEI through feedback received from overseas partner companies. Based on the content of the seminar, currently sees DEI, when used correctly, as a potential method to broaden the scope of their content and make it attractive to a wider range of players. On the topic of actual relevance of DEI in the past, they cite a survey conducted by Newzoo in which 55% of respondents from both the US and UK agree strongly or somewhat is DEI important to you? They also cite a survey result that showed that American and British gamers tend to project themselves onto game characters. In this sense, the DEI Namco Online are exploring seems to revolve around things like including more diverse hairstyles, facial features, and body types to character creations, as well as making non-playable characters more diverse in appearance and age. They seem to also consider accessibility options to be part of DEI as part of a linear lauds of the efforts to recent Japanese fighting games in making their controls more accessible. So, yeah, it looks like they're embracing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Really, it looks like based off of what 55% of people in their survey say that they approve of. So, look, I do think it's also important, especially, look, I will say this. I don't, we don't see things as woke per se around here. DEI, I think, is just part of everyday sort of thing and just a world that we live in these days, where we have a vast majority of people that look and feel completely different. And I do think it's imperative on businesses to, if you want to continue to grow, to be able to appeal to a vast majority of people that populate the world. I think being closed-minded to the idea of DEI in the company does nothing besides just shrink down what your reach is. And I do think there is something important, like the article states, that especially people that answered this survey in regards to showing why Bandai and Namco are leaning into it, is that people like to be able to feel themselves represented or see themselves on screen. And that's not just in movies or video games. I mean, not just movies and television shows, but clearly video games, right? Like I love the create your character feature in regards to where I can then go and make my characters look like me in the world that I'm kind of putting together, right? And so I think having access for larger swaths of audiences to be able to make these changes and create these characters the way that they want to, I think is absolutely natural in the world in which we live in. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, look, I can see people arguing the idea of like, oh, but these are Japanese and Asian games. How can you flood that? I mean, look, if I'm sure they can still keep them as Japanese and Asian characters for the market that you're trying to reach at home. But if you are trying to include a bigger variety of people and a bigger reach of people to expand your sales and who knows about your content, the idea of offering options, I don't think is anything wrong with them. I think if anything, it's a more of a brilliant business move on their part to make other people want to buy their content personally. But what do you think about that, Stewart?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, yeah, you nailed it in the comic. People like to see themselves represented, and the easiest way to do that is to just, be diverse in the type of characters that you put in your video games. It's not like Japanese video games always only carry Japanese characters. I mean, you look at the Metal Gear Solid franchise, for example, pretty much a mostly American cast with by cast I mean like the characters mostly American with the exception of a couple of villains. So it's not like this is anything new per se, with Japanese game developers. But yeah, I don't know, when you said character customization and then just the question that brought this up, immediately like in my head, I just think that viral video, pronouns. But yeah, I think always good to expand your horizons, trying new things. So I think that, if Bandai Namco wants to make more games that like have a more of a diverse cast, go for it. See how it works. I know that, you get some of the griftier YouTube channels that'll say immediately right off the bat, oh, the whole company is going to go under, prediction right here, totally called it. And then when it doesn't, they just pretend that video never happened. Or when they do, they go, see, I told you guys, I knew that if I threw enough spaghetti at the wall, eventually one piece would stick.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they talk about how they plan to utilize DEI, I do appreciate the article also saying like, look, we're trying to use DEI in the most positive way that we can. So it feels like their intentions are certainly correct in this regards. But yeah, I just think it's important to grow your business, and the only way to grow your business is to help make it accessible for every type of culture and society that's certainly out there. And I don't think the idea of allowing some of the things that the article talked about as to like the features that they were adding to the games, I don't think that takes away from being able to enjoy the game. I don't think it takes away from the story and the purpose of the game whatsoever. It's just, if people want to feel uncomfortable about it, let them feel uncomfortable about it. But we live in a world of diversity these days, and if you're going to grow your business, you got to allow your business to be accessible to everybody and make everybody feel comfortable in the world that they're living in. So the survey they took doesn't surprise me. The decision doesn't surprise me, and good luck to them. I hope it works out for them.
So question, actually, and I hope that this doesn't make me sound incredibly stupid.
How dare you?
But okay, because like it feels like just this last year I've been hearing the term DEI a lot. But like, so what defines like a DEI compared to like, if you're just hiring someone who's like a person of color, but like their ethnicity has nothing to do with it? What would make it a DEI compared to like if you're just hiring someone who just happens to be a person of color?
Well, people tend to be DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. People have been taking the idea that if you're DEI, you're only being hired for those reasons, that you're not, people tend to believe that you're not qualified if you're then sort of like a DEI sort of hire or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
When in reality, it's no, you're qualified, but you just happen to be black or female or of a different society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's really how it is. But people want to utilize it in the sense of you're just hired because of the fact that you're black or because you're part of a quota or an agenda sort of thing, but you've never truly been qualified for the role in the first place, when in reality that's unfortunately not how it works. You clearly have to be qualified for the job, but the company itself has to be open to the idea of balancing out, I would assume, that their workforce. If they happen to be the most qualified person and they happen to be black, so be it. You know what I'm saying? Or they happen to be female, so be it. But it is supposed to be based off of qualifications first, and then the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense then. Yeah.
But yeah, people definitely have been trying to turn it around to make it into something that it's not, and really using it, if you ask me, as like a whistle for people that have issues with, people that may be racist or misogynistic or whatever the case may be. They utilize it as a talking point, unfortunately. So, but yeah, that's where we are. Welcome to the 21st century, Stewart.
Racism still exists. They just try to hide it.
They try and hide it.
They find different ways.
Absolutely. And look, and to be fair, there's a part of me that sometimes wants to believe that people that believe this stuff may not necessarily be lumped in. But I would say I do think people that are leading this charge of making DEI become negative have those intentions of being racist and misogynistic. And these people that are picking it up and utilizing it, and I don't necessarily know if they fully understand what it is that they're saying, and they're just using these talking points. But who knows, man? I don't know the world that we live in these days. But hopefully hopefully people get a little bit more educated.
That is what I like to think with big YouTube channels that have like lots of subscribers, but tend to like kind of basically give that kind of information out there. I like to think that the people subscribe to them that watch their videos watch it more because they're kind of like in that agreement of like let's take Marvel for example. They're like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Marvel movies nowadays either. That's why I like these channels, because they don't like these movies either. I like to think that that's why they have those subscribers, and it's not because they're on that bandwagon of woke culture is killing everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I have a feeling that a lot of these people, they probably subscribe to the channel intentionally because, yeah, we agree that we may not necessarily be big fans of it. But I do hope that there's a group of people that also, even though you subscribe to that channel, in agreement with them, when they do start navigating sort of these hateful lines of rhetoric and really start showing their ass and their true nature behind their purpose of pushing this type of stuff, I hope people are then able to be like, I kind of agreed with you there, but you're going down a completely different path that I can't. Like, I may agree with you that I don't like the show, but the reasons you're giving as to why a show failed or why you don't like the show, those may not necessarily be the same reasons that I agree with and eventually kind of step away with. But I do think that there is a group of people that I agree with you in a sense of join those YouTube channels with the intention of believing, we believe in this together, and are starting to pick up on those the whistles of DEI and jump on board with like, that's why I don't know the show. And I don't know if they don't fully understand. Like, I wonder if they fully understand what they're aligning themselves with in regards to that or not. So I just hope people are smart enough to take a step back and not just believe all the rhetoric that people are certainly utilizing because it's a trigger word that automatically gets people going. I hope everybody's doing their own sort of research and understanding about how some of these things work, and don't necessarily believe everything that you hear from a YouTuber. Despite that, just because somebody has 3 million subscribers or 4 million subscribers doesn't mean that they're like the expert in regards to what's being said type of thing, because that's just not how it works, unfortunately. Trust me, you can have a lot of stupid people have 3 million subscribers. Okay, so anyway, we went a little bit on a tangent there.
People love hate. It's weird.
People love hate, and it's just fascinating to me that the same people that will attack us for being shills just because of the fact that we are positive about certain things or approach our criticisms in a different way completely ignore the idea that there are shills on the other side, and those are called grifters that are definitely benefiting off of a negative algorithm of YouTube and being paid a ton of money just to hate on something, and want to just put that hate out into the algorithm and its viewers to become like them. And it's really frightening. Like, I've come to realize that there is a difference between movie and television critics and opinionators, and a lot of people that you see out there with blue check marks and all these big fan bases, I would certainly say are more opinionators than actually critiquers, the critics these days, unfortunately.
Definitely.
But yeah, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below, but hopefully that answers all your guys' questions. And look, man, we're all about we're all about talking about movies and TVs around here. We definitely like to approach it with an open mindset. And if that's what you love around here, if you like some open-mindedness, some fair-mindedness when it comes to talking about these subjects, if you like your long-form reviews, this is definitely the place for you. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Hit that like button if you continue to love our content, and feel free to share these videos and let people know about A+ Hero Report. But Stewart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram and on Letterboxd at TurboStew01.
And you guys will find us everywhere at A+ Opinions, as you can see down below. Find us on our YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media everywhere at A+ Opinions, especially our Facebook page, where we drop all the news and information throughout the week over there for you guys. And then we take the 6 topics from that site and then we talk about them right here for you guys. We got a Rings of Power review set to drop at 3 p.m. here for episode number 7. We will be back later on this week with the Penguin episode 2 review and more Agatha all along, baby, and a couple of other great videos throughout the week. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share these videos. But until next time, guys, we'll certainly see you guys next week. In the meantime, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.